the carousel immediately. He gets punted off. That was Saavedra. Aguilar, he's gone up. He's been tapped, and he's into the barriers. Oh, the rejoin. Oh, no.
Dean. Oh, Pedro, Dean.
Oh, Chris Lallum does have the inside track for the Swiss left. If he's able to make that pass happen, he might be able to cut away Victorino. He does make that pass, and he makes it clean as they come into the right hand. And this is it. Chris Lallum seizes the opportunity and makes it. And just as the end, the rain comes to put a pin onto the end of the race, and Chris Lallum takes it.
Hello and welcome back everybody to the land of the rising sun. That's right, we're out in Japan as we continue our AMX Season 6 World Championship where we're having our TCR doubleheader out in Japan. Our first stop is out in Tsukuba. Of course, it's been great so far all season long with these TCR cars, and now we're going to see if we get to see Honda in their homeland take home a championship today. Welcome back. I am Kevin, and joining me alongside in the booth today, we have Amir. Amir, it's been a great weekend of racing so far. We got to see AMX 0 kick off yesterday, a bit of drama going on there, as well as AMX 5 heading it over to the Circuit of the Americas. But back today, all day, we're going to be in Japan. I mean, I know I'm excited for this one, but what do you hope to see today's races?
Well, it's TCR. It's definitely going to be banging contact like we saw yesterday in the GT86s, but even more so because touring cars, especially of the front wheel drive variety, just provide so much close racing. You cannot take your eyes off. It will happen in every single corner. So really looking forward to seeing it, especially our first time in Tsukuba. That's an iconic circuit. Despite being a club circuit, it has international appeal.
Definitely one of my favorite tracks in Japan. But before we get into today's race, we have a few things to cover. As always, if you want to follow us along, make sure to head over to our social medias, catch everything that's coming up, as well as plenty of replays. I know we got plenty from this season, that so many good moments. But first, we have a few housekeeping items to go over. Man, I can't believe that we are already 7 weeks into this season. The time flies. I know we say that a lot, but like I said, we've been out here since September 7th, going all the way out until November 17th with this season's prize pool of over $11,000 plus next level racing gear. Our racing goes as follows. We changed it up a little bit, heard back from some of the drivers. So our format for today's race, we're going to have our 20-minute qualifier going into that top 15 reverse grid, followed by a 20-minute heat 1 and a 20-minute heat 2. So it was 30 minutes. We heard some feedback, and now it's going to go back to that classic AMX 2020. For all of our drivers out there, driver cams are required to race. You can get the link via our AMX Discord or head over to the website. Payouts are done and balances over $100 paid out each month. Once you hit that $100 hits your account, expect that money headed your way. And like I mentioned, we are here every single weekend, Saturdays and Sundays this season. You can get signed up to race anytime over to amxrace.com. So we kick it off every single Saturday with AMX 0 starting at 5:50 p.m. GMT, followed by AMX 5 right after at 7:10 p.m. And on days like today, we got our AMX 10 double headers starting at 5:50 p.m. with the second race right after at 7:20 p.m. And on the opposite weekends on Sundays, we got our AMX 15 mini endurance races at 5:50 p.m. So plenty of action all the time. But speaking of action, this is what these drivers are fighting for out on track today. So AMX 10, our prize pool right now is qualifying as well as Heat 1 and Heat 2. $20 going to first place, $12 to second place, $8 to third, and prizes will be awarded all the way down to 15th place, with the fastest lap getting an extra $1 added on to that for a total prize pool per race of $400. And for everyone out there in AMX 10, it does require a minimum road iRating of 3,000. So if you have a 3,000 iRating, you want to get out here, win some great prizes, we'd love to see you out on track. And now our current top 10 for the AMX 10 this season. We're going to round it out starting in 10th place. We got Mauricio Lozano. In 9th, Dino Felipa. 8th place, Corentin Guinez. 7th, Pedro Dean. 6th place, we got Juan Blainot. 5th, Victor Miranda. 4th place, Bruno De Carmo. And your top 3, we got in 3rd place, Jackson Assange with 99.5 points. In 2nd place, Gaston Kulavi with 101 points. And leading the pack nearly all season long, just dominating out here, you have your leader, Gael Valero, at 162.5 points. So right now, things are looking great for the back-to-back champion of Gael Valero. He's looking to make it a 3rd. He's looking to dominate every single class this season. And so far, looks like he has a very good chance at doing that. But for today's track, like we mentioned, out at Tsukuba, I mean, it is a little bit of a shorter track, but Amir, it's a great one out here today.
Definitely. And I did say at the top of the program just now that it is somewhat of a club circuit, but the international appeal comes from the fact that it's available in so many different games, and iRacing, one of them being the one that laser scan this place in its entirety, the 2000 circuit and parts of the motorbike circuit. Opened first in 1970, just a little over 2 kilometers, located just in the Shimotsuma region or the Ibaraki prefecture of Japan. We're just only about 40 kilometers away from Tokyo, but despite that, it's popular with the locals because the racing here provides a good little economy for them. So really, a small circuit, but has so many varieties of corners and good close action that it complements well to a good segue to the cars that we're doing today, which is the TCR class. And you can see there, Audis, Toyota, Hyundais, and ultimately there's also a Honda. So 4 different cars spread across 3 manufacturers. 315 to 350 horsepower. There you go. You can see the Honda at the back there. And an Audi for good measure. Front wheel drive, all of them. A little over 1.2 to 1.5 tons and slightly better gearboxes. But ultimately, the cars are actually balanced out by a BOP system that you see in GT3. So that's why the racing is always constantly close. And it really rewards drivers who just get it right on throttle because these things can wash out. But overall, great track, great car class. Bring it on.
And speaking of that, I mean, like I said, known for the club racing, like you said, Amir. Also, Tsukuba known for its time attack challenges. So great to see that. Got to see just recently, as an American, very proud to see a Corvette out there within the top 5 time attack, top 5 rankings out there in time attack. So if you didn't see it, they're set by Faris Khartoumi, 51.2 seconds. So that is the only American car out on top of those time attack boards within the top 10. I think within actually the top 50 at all. There's a lot of it, mostly JDM cars, plenty of legendary tuners and drivers out here always trying to set down the fastest laps. But we're not just worried about fastest laps out here, as right now we're taking a ride on board Bruno De Carmo. We got to see him yesterday for AMX 0. A little bit of drama going on the track as there was quite a few incidents going on. Some of the Delinta Esports guys, it was definitely the battle between Argentina and Brazil yesterday. Yeah,
certainly it was not the sort of racing that we want to see happen between the drivers. We want good, clean racing and respect for one another, but sometimes it can get very heated and ultimately it just boiled over. So hopefully today we see less of that and more great racing.
And I've typically only really driven this track out in some of the single-seaters, the open-wheel cars, and I mean those, it's really built for setting fast laps. It's really built for not having too much traffic. Like I said, there's not too many places to pass out here on track today. There's really only 3 very opportunistic places. Of course, turn 1, I'd say at most tracks, is always one of those coming off of the long straight, as well as now we're going to take a hot lap on board Bruno De Carmo. So coming in hot out here, turn 1, kind of your very stereotypical, bit of a hairpin, a little bit longer than, I guess, a hairpin, a 180-degree turn coming out of that right now. Definitely a place we're going to see a lot of drivers go side by side going into turn 3 now, into turn number 4 again. Another place probably don't want to try passing out here unless the driver in front of you leaves the door open. Definitely not too many places out here going side by side now into turn number 5. Right here we see a little variation in the GP track for the motorcycles as well. Coming around bend 6 and 7 now into turn number 8. Another one of those opportune times to really pass. You really want to get a great exit out of here, as now it's all a long straight until we head back around the long sweeping turn of turn 9 back into the finish line. So right now, right here, another place you see a lot of guys might try sticking their noses where it might not be. So expect this long final turn to be a place that we might see some incidents going on, but that is a lap on board. Bruno De Carmo right now still sitting in 5th place. Marco Saavedra leading the pack.
Yep, Saavedra with a 2/10 advantage, nearly over 2/10 advantage over Valero. Dean in 3rd. He showed really good promise yesterday after such a commanding drive in both heats that we had in the Mercedes F1 cars. And well, he's sporting a really unique livery, shall we say, Dora the Explorer on his car. So he's probably wanting a sponsor from Nickelodeon, not Hyundai and itself. But glad the sense humor is there, and he's putting the lap time for good measure.
Yeah, I always love seeing drivers out here that don't take it too serious with their liveries. I mean, granted, as long as they keep it somewhat safe for work, then, you know, we don't mind everything. But yeah, loving the Nickelodeon Dora the Explorer out there. Got Swiper the Fox on the side of it. But yeah, as well as here's the other man right behind him, Gael Valero and Pedro Dean. We got to see those two battling it out yesterday for AMX5. We were in the Mercedes AMG F1 cars out of Circuit of the Americas, where we got to see quite a bit, but unfortunately, Gael Valero having a bit of an incident early on in the race. Heat number 1, I think he was the first to have to pit, get some of those repairs done, and in heat number 2, got taken out, and that was pretty much his day. So he's looking to come back out here, keep his points lead out for AMX10. Like I said, we are now in week 7 out of 10 weeks out here this season, so not too many opportunities for these guys to really take it. It's looking very good for Gael Valero, so pretty much if he comes out winning both heats today, that championship may very well be his.
Yeah, certainly. It was a bit of a damper, to be honest, on both AMX 0 and AMX 5 races, because it really was, when the day didn't start off well, it literally snowballed into the next one. So hopefully for him, he can actually bounce back today and just show what he's made of, especially in his bread and butter, the TCR cars. Our driver spotlight today is with Guy Valero himself from Apex Racing Team, 20 years of age, and there's his social media if you want to go and have a chat with him, or rather maybe just give some nice fan feedback. But whatever it is, this is the man to watch every time TCRs are on the bill. You know he's going to be right up there, top of the timesheets, and it's proven so at this point.
And looking out on field today, it does look like a pretty good spread of different manufacturers out on the field. I mean, I guess minus we have only one Audi out there, which, knowing this track, I don't really think there is quite enough of the long straights. We'll have to see where that Audi really has the advantage out here today. Like I said, Tsukuba, a very tight track, not too technical. It's, I'd say, a very balanced track for how short that it actually is. So that too, just over a mile and about 1.25 miles as well. So not too long out here. But speaking of that, one thing that always comes into play when we see these front-wheel drive vehicles is how hot is this track? How much is it going to take for these tires to start degrading? I was looking at the weather earlier, about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, just about 30 degrees Celsius. So looking like track temps are kind of changing too. But one big thing, that's the ambient temperature. Got to pay attention to the track temperature right now. 52 degrees on the track. So I expect these tires possibly start degrading pretty bad once we hit those final couple of laps. And
most importantly as well, lap times will be a bit slower than what they would really normally project. They're running on certain conditions, so it might not be as fast as certain drivers wanting to be that certain drivers want, but still, it's just going to be quite interesting to see how well they can manage the tires. At this point, you can see the manufacturer spread. Only one Audi as opposed to the armada of Audis that we have because of how strong that car is in the TCR class in iRacing. But glad to see that Honda is represented well here too, alongside Hyundai, with Guy Valero leading that charge for the Japanese brand, and behind Saavedra, who's leading the way right now in the Veloster. Across the line he goes. Let's see if that time is going to be improved. Answer is yes. In fact, it's a 9.40. It really is just an incremental improvement. I think he matched his actual previous best. Yeah, just like that. So Marco Saavedra just getting faster and faster. But
one thing that we see all the time, it doesn't really matter how much you can set a fast lap out here, as much as it matters how well you can benefit from taking advantage of the racing that's going on tracks. Right here we see Gaston Kulavi now on his out lap, trying to go in for that next speeder. So we had a few drivers all kind of bunched up there out on their out laps, but now we can see as well just kind of the lines that you take. So a little bit different of a line. I know out here these cars also a bit of momentum vehicles, akin to something like an MX5 Cub car that we've seen, or even yesterday in the GR86s. So really just trying to keep it smooth is going to make it a lot faster than trying to really get any of these crazy darts in through these corners. I know, like I mentioned, a few places around here I'm going to expect to see these guys try to really just put their nose, maybe try to force a gap where there might not really be one. So again, that's just to be expected in the TCR cars. Not really the easiest, but Gaston Kulavi not really too happy with how that lap is going now. Gonna just kind of pull off the racing line, let everyone pass, try to reset, and right now these drivers have about 4 minutes left in qualifying to set down a faster lap.
Yep, and it's not out of the realm of imagination that the times will continue to tumble, because again, the relatively short nature of the circuit, you can complete at least 3 laps within the next 4 minutes here. As you can see, all the lap times are under a minute, so the driver's got to handle the car and track combo. It's just a matter of the timing that they can do to get it up there, as we are looking at a driver with a rather unique name, Roberto Freezer. I'm not sure if that's a normal Spanish surname, but here we are. We are looking at him coming through turn number 11 into 12 onto the back straight. This is one of the main slipstreaming points. Let's see if he's going to improve. No, in fact, he's going to back it off, getting ready for another run here. Spotting the McLaren livery on the Hyundai, incidentally.
And we've got to see Roberto come out this season. Kind of, you know, one of those that just came flying under the radar, but there was a few races that we got to see him. I know he's been in a few different classes this season, just kind of saying, all right, guys, I know I can come in here and fight with some of the best of the best. So right now, a little bit more towards the back of the pack, but like I said, these drivers really trying to still get a hold on some of these TCR cars, especially if they come off from driving like we had yesterday, going all rear-wheel drive, going high downforce in that second race, now coming out to the TCR. But again, I don't think the lap time is going to matter too much, because we do have that reverse grid going on. And right here, sporting for the Sart MC Racing team, we got Diego Villarreal, so another AMX veteran out here on the track. He's been with us for a very long time, always coming out here showing a great time. I mean, I think this guy kind of holding together a lot of the teammates. We always see him either, whether it's in the front of the pack defending for his life, or whether it's in the back trying to just battle it off. We know Diego is out here having a great time, always going to put on a great show with this man. And I know a lot of people out there too complimenting his beard, saying he probably has the best beard in all of AMX. So I'm not going to deny that one either. I mean, hey, a lot of times chat knows what they're talking about. So I think we're going to have to start putting polls out here, though. I mean, it's a bit of a racing contest, not as much of a beauty contest, but hey, chat has spoken, so we'll see. Is now Diego Villarreal currently in 8th place. So this man also finding his groove out here today at Tsukuba.
Yep, certainly. And slipstreaming may not be such a factor because of the limited amount of straights, but the follow the leader type racing is what you're expecting in TCR. I think we might see some robust maneuvers, especially at the heavy braking zones coming up to, say, turn number 1 and up to turn number 8. We might see a bit of action in that one. But side-by-side action can still happen somewhere around turn 3 and 4 as well. So keep an eye out for that as the race will progress, no doubt, after this. As we look now, the first shots of the Delinte car with the man leading the entire line, Jackson Resende.
And Jackson as well yesterday, probably not having quite the race that he wanted to see. We got to see him out there. The GR86 Cup, of course, one of those guys kind of having a bit of an incident there in heat number 2. So he was able to shake that off, come back out into the F1 cars out of Circuit of the Americas for the second race out AMX5, where we've typically seen him do very well. I know Jackson Resende is one of the drivers currently competing in the F4 Esports Championship, so he has that World Championship driver's license out there, but we can see what he's doing. As you can tell, just back and forth between his teammates, just a smile on these guys' face. So like I said, a lot of these guys, they want to come out here and win, but they're also out here to have as much fun as they can, and we can see that right there on the face of Jackson.
Yeah, toying a bit with Ralph Benitez, but it looks a bit Benitez I think they're just gonna be all smiles because you can tell that they're in Discord or whatever means of communication they're using to talk to each other. It's still gonna be a race of who wants to make it, who wants it more after this, as now qualifying comes to an end. Saavedra a 10th clear of Valero.
And just like that, with qualifying coming to an end, so a lot of these drivers still pretty close in their timing. Like I said, top 15 reverse grid. All of the drivers out on track today are going to be in that reverse grid. But there is your BenQ session winner for qualifying. Marco Saavedra absolutely dominating it out with a 58.94 out here in the TCR cars. In second place, we got Gael Valero. Third, Ralph Benitez. Fourth, Pedro Dean. Fifth, Mauricio Lozano. Sixth, Bruno De Carmo. Seventh place, Gaston Culabi. Eighth, Diego Villarreal. Ninth, Jackson Asenge. 10th place, Roberto Frizer. 11th, Pedro Mura. 12th, Evanjo Dantas. And rounding it out in 13th, Gerard Sardeni, who will be shuffled to the front of the grid for the start of heat number 1.
Yep, and we know Sardini, who can be quite a robust driver up in front when he defends, but attacks hard when he's also being the one doing the chasing. We'll wait and see how this entire thing plays out, but the field separated by just under a second shows you one thing: TCR cars really show that competitive racing is possible.
And here we go as we line up now, moments away from the green flag out here. Heat number 1 out is Tsukuba running the full course layout. We're going to see how well these drivers get a start. That's one of the biggest things that we've seen all season long, is if these drivers can get a great start, they can gain 2, even 3 positions right off the home straight. But here we go. The green flag is flying, and a great start from the back of the pack already, as well as our leaders up there in front. We still got Gerard Sardeni, Pedro Mura, now 3 wide going into turn number 1. Luckily, still keeping it pretty clean. These guys not super fast out there, so we'll have to see going into lap number 2, but still right here through turns 2 and 3. Now going out through turn number 4, and we already have a slide off in the back right there. That is what we do not want to see. It's a dangerous thing going through turns 2 and 3, Amir.
Yeah, I did say just now that side-by-side action is possible at turn 3, but it caught out 2 of the big protagonists as well. Lozano and Dean both already right at the back of this entire field.
And here we go. So a little bit of chaos going on in the back of the field, leading Sardeni and Pedro Mura to start getting a little bit of a gap between them. So the battle for the lead will ensue, is right here trying to get a great exit out of the final turn onto the home straight. We'll have to see who gets it. It's still Sardeni, but Pedro Mura right there in the draft, closing in on him. And look, 2, even 3 wide coming around the final corner. We're gonna have to keep an eye out on turn number 1, as well as what happened in the first lap. Are these guys gonna try to go side by side once again? Are they gonna see exactly what happened? Be a little bit more careful. We'll just have to wait and see. Now they're forming a little bit more of a train, so I think these guys start to learn right where they can and cannot make some of those moves. But now we see some of the guys going around the outside. One of the start drivers as well there, Bruno De Carmo, trying to hold on that line. Roberto Frizer, as well as Diego Villarreal, caught up in the mix of things. So definitely it's going to be a lot of side-by-side action. I think as long as these guys keep it clean, we're going to be seeing this all 20 laps, Amir.
Well, we'll wait and see how that plays out. But for the time being, though, the fast guys are shuffling the way up through the front, led by currently Bruno De Carmo, with Descende, his fellow Delite teammate behind him, overtaking Roberto Fraser into the inside, coming up. No, there we go. That's the accident I was about to mention. And there goes Resende, sent into the barriers at turn 12.
So just like that, I mean, yeah, a lot of these drivers now going to see some of these longer turns, not really going to want to be trying to pass around the outside. It's just so easy to barely get into someone else. And oh, a little bit of a slip up right there in the back from Gael Valero. So we'll have to see again. All this battling going on has left a gap for Sardeni and Mora to start really battling it out towards the front. I'm not sure how much they're going to work together. Again, Brazil versus Spain up for the lead. We see Pedro Mora not really trying to fight. I think, again, he's going to look for that perfect move out here. We got 20 laps out here, so although it's a little bit shorter now, again, 20 minutes going into this heat number 1, as well as another 20 minutes coming up. I think Pedro Mura, hey, he says, I'm only 3 laps into this thing. I'm going to try and just tail right onto the back of Sardeni. And one thing that we've seen all season long is the fuel going to last these drivers all the way to the end of the race? We might just have to wait and see now with a 20-minute race versus a 30-minute race, if it's going to be enough, or if these guys are going to really push it that much more, knowing they have that much more fuel to use.
Yeah, that's a good point to point out, especially after what happened last year in AMX 20. A couple of times where the drivers pit in on the last lap or in the last few laps to just get the cars topped up and ready to go. So really, yeah, that's a good point to bring up here. I think it might just be enough, but remains to be seen whether or not if the way that these guys are driving might warrant a pit stop in a short race.
And speaking of pit stops, we do already have 3 people hitting the pits, but I think that was really just to get a bit of damage repair done to their cars. One of those being Jackson Assange, who we did see get caught up in the incident on the previous lap. So again, Pedro Dean right now still in the pits. Not exactly sure what is going on from there. He pretty much started the race and right away had to hit the pits, has been in there ever since. So you might see if he's just going to wait or if he's going to get those repairs done, get back out on track, or if that might be his race day. But right now, still lap number 5. We got a great battle going on. Marcos Saavedra, Roberto Frizer trying to both battle it out and catch up to Gaston Kulavi. So Kulavi doing a great job holding it down in 4th place as the battle going on back and forth right between the 2 cars behind him. No! Looked like almost a little bit of a lunge from Saavedra, leaving the door wide open for Roberto Frizer to take advantage of it and get up. So Gaston Kulavi now a little bit of breathing room, now has a second gap over the driver behind him.
And we know how Kulavi is one hard charger as well. He's got his way up through the field. There comes Saavedra to overtake Frizer for P5. Now he's going to set his sights on his fellow countryman up in P4 at this point. But yeah, totally insane racing. It's just neck and neck stuff, and it's to be expected in TCR racing. Despite the real world stuff being a little bit more boilerplate, it's just not really the most invigorating things to see racing. In sim racing, however, TCR cars have definitely been the top of the menu for action.
And I can just see the look of focus right there on Roberto Frizer's face. Just a little bit upset with him. This is one of those tracks, like I said, it's a little bit different when you're trying to just set fast laps in qualifying to how you actually have to defend out here. So, like I mentioned, out there, turns 1, turn 4, turn 8, going to be a lot of people trying to just dive to the inside, and so far that's been working for quite a few of these people. Hasn't worked for others as they took it a little bit too hard, ended up into the side of another driver. But right now, still Sardeni leading, Pedro Mura still right behind him. So again, I think this is the battle going to be going on. We can see there the incident that happened at the race start. These guys going 3 wide out there through turns number 2 and 3. And just like that, there is no room left. Unfortunately, one of the Delinte drivers just kind of ended up getting a bit of a sandwich between the cars going out there. So similar to what we seen yesterday out in the Formula 1 cars, whenever you have a bit of a sandwich, you know, the guy in the middle really can't do anything about it.
Yeah, again, you can see that was Lozano getting a bit pitched sideways, pit maneuvered into the side of Pedro Dean, and that's it. That's all she wrote for both drivers.
And here's Sardeni. So, I mean, again, Sardeni, he was didn't have the best of qualifying out here. So he was the first driver that, again, got shuffled all the way to the front of the pack. But that just goes to show whenever you're a great defender out on some of these short tracks, really it pays off. So Sardeni down towards the back in qualifying, able to set it from that reverse grid, and has been in first place since the very beginning. So Pedro Mora, again, not looking too concerned. You just see the look on his face. He's trying to stay focused, but again, I don't think he's really trying to push it too much. We might see, as we've seen all season long with these TCR cars, once these guys kind of hit that halfway point, it's like someone flips the switch and they start being a little bit more aggressive, start really pushing. So we have a couple laps to find out, is that going to be the same out here today in Tsukuba?
Yeah, that's a very good point to bring out as well. Whether or not the tires can actually still comply with the way that the guys are driving. As you can see, the incident between Resende and Frizer. Yeah, pit maneuvered. He had the inside line, but Frizer was committed to the turn as well. So, 2 going in there was not going to be on, especially when the car's already pitched sideways. There's no way Resende could recover that one.
And here we go. So yeah, like we mentioned, lap 8 of 20, not quite halfway through this thing yet, but it's still the battle going on. I mean, a few battles different going on now, as well as the battle for the lead. Looks like we got a battle right behind in 3rd place. Bruno De Carmo trying to hold off Gaston Kulavi. We have one towards the back, Roberto Frizer, and Ralph Benitez still battling it out back there too. So like we mentioned, it's really going to be about how many mistakes these drivers do or don't make, as well as how many opportunities are they going to force? So sometimes that can lead to incidents like we got to see earlier on in heat number 1 out here. But again, for everyone out there watching live on Twitch or YouTube, you can see that QR code popping up on screen. Feel free to scan that and see what we're seeing up here in the booth. Get all of the details with these guys live timing. But again, I mean, Amir out here, how much do you think is these guys trying to really tire save versus just not having the opportunity to pass?
Yeah, again, the guys from behind, they definitely have plenty of time to save their tires and not really have to push too hard. The guys in front are going to work overtime doubly as well to try and defend. And for Sardeni, he's in a very unenviable position of having to push up in front and defend at the same time. So it really would hurt his tires if he judges a block or he gets a little bit crossed up or even just understeer. That causes the tires to really scrub. So really, for Sardeni, he is the one in the most difficult position. Whereas the other guys, they can just stay behind, wait for the last possible moment to strike, and take the position away from him.
So here we go now, lap number 10, the halfway point of this race, folks. And it's still Sardeni up in first place, Pedro Moura in second, and Bruno De Carmo in third place. We got to see a great battle going on yesterday in the W13 cars out there between both Pedros. So we had Pedro Dean and Pedro Moura out fighting for the lead on that one. Got a little bit confusing. They had pretty similar colors of cars, so out in the black and lime green. But out here today, Pedro Moura sporting that Japanese Honda out on track, as well as we got right behind him Bruno De Carmo doing a great job holding on to that third position, doing a great, amazing defensive job against Marco Saavedra right behind him. Gael Valero right now in the middle of the pack. That's one thing that, although some of these guys have been doing great from the very beginning, kind of fallen under the radar just a little bit. As there we go, Sardeni and Moura side by side. Pedro Moura trying to just find, will he have it now? Oh, a bit of contact going on. This could be bad right here as just Moura and Sardeni trying to keep it on track at this point. So luckily that could have been an absolutely horrendous incident right there. But Pedro Moura shoving his way up into first place now. Sardeni, we're going to have to see if he tries to do the same thing back.
Well, Pedro really was not taking any prisoners in that one. He knew that the time to strike for him was this soon. So he wanted to get on with the job and try to just be the leader. Hold on to it as no, something happened behind Bruno De Carmo. Uses quick repair, but he has been pitched into the barriers.
So just like that, unfortunately, Bruno De Carmo getting taken out. That might just be his race again as he dropped all the way from third place down to 10th. So yeah, that's so heartbreaking to see. I mean, a lot of these guys out here, we know all of these guys out here are trying to race hard, trying to just see how much they can push it. But unfortunately for Bruno De Carmo, just getting the bad end of that deal right there. So now still towards the front of the pack, we still got Sardeni just looking for that opportune moment to really take back first place. He was there nearly the entire race until we seen last lap what happened. But now into the pits, Bruno De Carmo hitting the pit lane. So Amir, I think he may have had a bit more damage than we may have initially thought from that one. I mean, we might get the replay right here, picture in picture. So he's going to the inside, unfortunately looking like, I'm not sure if he took that a little bit hot and just trying to come on the outside, but right there got stuck like glue to the driver on the outside and unfortunately had that half spin into the wall, looking like he lost his rear bumper, his spoiler. So yeah, quite a bit of damage going on for that incident.
Yeah, Saavedra was the one that pitched him into the barriers. You can see there, that was the Dora the Explorer car that really sent him exploring into the part of the track that he really didn't want to be. So the camera will probably be focusing on the second heat after this and try to make amends in there.
Yeah, so it's always hard, but here we go. 2 by 2 up towards the front of the pack. Marco Saavedra now trying to make the move on Gaston Kulavi. Kulavi as well, trying to make the inside right there over Sardeni in second place. So we got a battle. I think Sardeni was trying to make the move over to get first place and left the door open, but now Gael Valero as well getting to the mix of things. So we got a 5-way battle at the front of the pack now. Pedro Moura trying to just hold his line, make sure, all right, I know I need to defend out here, but I think these guys behind me are going to end up taking each other out. So again, it's one of those things of trying to play safe. Saavedra holding the inside line. We'll have to see if you take that corner too fast, you're about to just slide right out to the very end, pinch someone off track. So we'll have to keep in mind right there. No, he does get in front of it. Gael Valero now holding the inside line as well over Sardeni.
Yeah, Sardeni then as well, overtaken by Valero coming through turn 1. So he hasn't had the best couple of laps here. Being overtaken left, right, and center. Now Kulhavi is pressuring the back of Mora. This is Honda versus Honda and Hyundai in 4th place, with Saavedra now being overtaken by Valero, but he fights back, and the Hyundai inches ahead here. They're still going side by side. This is still neck and neck racing, even though we're already past the halfway point.
So there, Gaston Kulhavi taking the wide line out, trying to just get that momentum, open it wide up, see if he can get the run now coming into the final back stretch around the final turn. So again, is he going to take the dive to the inside right here? That's a dangerous place to do, as we already got to see what happened earlier on when drivers started to do this. So sticking onto the rear bumper of Pedro Mura, Gaston Kulhavi, the SAR MC driver, doing a great job now. The Honda versus Honda again, going for that side-by-side, trying to make the outside move again. I think these cars just don't quite have the downforce. And oh, he is into the side of Kulhavi. Right there, we have another incident coming back out onto track.
Oh wow, that is so unfortunate again. The cars somehow, with the way that they collide, can just cause a T-bone effect and the driver being sent to the barrier. So this time it was unfortunately was it Dantas of Mora being sent to the back here. So it's unfortunate how that happened. Now we gotta have to say, we need to take a bit of a breather, and hopefully the racers can settle a bit before they go for the final push.
And there we go, folks. So now it's up to Gael Valero to try and take the lead over Marcos Saavedra. So both of these drivers, we have Saavedra up 12 positions, Gael Valero up 10. So we'll have to see exactly where they come away with this one. I think, Gael Valero, it's going to be the Honda versus the Hyundai out here in the Veloster, the Dora the Explorer car, causing a bit of chaos on the field. I know there's been, again, hard racing all day long. Here we see a picture replay. What happened there towards the inside? I'm not sure. Again, we see there the incident with Pedro Mura. If he just, I'm not sure how much of that was a bit of a squeeze to the inside versus trying to just take that corner too hot, and once you start going to the outside of that, really just getting clipped. So again, that might be one that we'll see if it is going to be under review by the racing steward. But for right now, back to the front of the pack, Saavedra trying to do his best to hold off Gael Valero, but there's a couple of these turners, Valero just getting super close, really just kind of being slowed down a bit.
Yeah, no draft here that is possible for him with the Honda. The Hyundai is faster among the two cars on the straight. Normally we see that being the straight line speed strength of the Audi. This time, however, the Hyundai is showing that is the faster of the two. The Veloster faster than the Civic.
And as well as a battle going on for the lead, we got a battle going on right behind for P3 between Kulhavi and Sardeni. So two battles, one for first, one for third. We're going to see which is going to be the first person to overtake, get that spot back. But like we've seen earlier, Gaston Kulhavi so far doing a great job with defending, as well as Marcos Saavedra. Again, right now we are on lap number 17 of 20, so things are definitely heating up as the race is almost to an end. Gael Valero knows he's going to probably have to force a move, really put his nose in there whenever he can, try to possibly make a dive to the inside when he gets the opportunity. Again, turn number one might be a place if he can get close enough to the bumper of Saavedra to really try and take that inside line or try to force a mistake. I know we've seen that from Gael Valero in the past. Really just go for the mind punt and get that driver in front of you to make a mistake.
Yeah, or the good old hit and run, if we call it in NASCAR, but I don't think Valero is the type of driver to knock somebody out of the way to just get a position. And likewise, Saavedra, he has been involved in a couple of hits, but I generally think he's just a generally hard racer, and he will just give as much fair room as possible. Though, again, we say it here, a couple of instances where the incidents are sketchy, but yeah, he probably should have been a bit cleaner there.
So now still Gael Valero looking to make the move. The battle behind for P3 has now gotten a bit of a gap, so Kulhavi not really too worried, has about just over a second between himself and Sardeni, as well as Gael Valero. Again, I think they're probably going to wait to make a move if I know Gael on the penultimate lap or on the final lap, but I don't think he wants to leave it down to chance on the very final lap with the white flag coming out. So we'll have to see. I expect a move to be made now that they come back across the start-finish line. Start of the penultimate lap, Gael Valero really just going to probably either force something or just say, you know what, I'm ahead in points enough that I'm not going to risk a crash. So we'll have to see right on the rear bumper, just like that guy, Valero, coming out, trying to get the elbows out. Amir, we got a great battle on our hands right now. P1, the final 2 laps.
Yep, again, a hard racer versus a hard racer. You'll get 2 drivers that really are 2 immovable objects that will not yield for anybody. So, wait and see then. Where is Guile gonna attack here? He might just try at turn 8. Okay, bit of a dink, but no way through just yet. But last lap after this, he only has 2 more opportunities. Again, at turn number 9, and after that, turn number 11, and after that, turn number 1. That's the only other places that he can try to at least get a bit of an opportunity to overtake.
So here we go, folks. Now the white flag coming out for these guys. Marco Saavedra, Gael Valero. It's now or never for Valero if he wants to get that top spot. We got to see last lap. He was right on the rear bumper, just giving him a little bit of a love tap, saying, all right, I'm letting you know I am right here, and I'm going to try to do whatever it takes. You know, again, like I said, no one wants to crash each other out for first place. It's not a NASCAR race out here, but these guys definitely are going to have to really push as hard as they have done the entire lap. Definitely tire wear starting to play a little bit of effect, but not to the point where these guys are starting to really skid around. They have great control over these cars, but here we go. Now Gael Valero, is he going to set up the move to the inside? No, doesn't quite have enough space, but here we go. Now side by side, Gael Valero, a bit of a bump and run. Here we go, Amir, all the way to the finish. It's going to be a drag race.
Wow, that was a good little fake move that Valero did to just put Saavedra off. He went narrow. They're going to go side by side here onto the final corner, but I think Saavedra might not be having enough of a line to go through. Yes, it is a close finish, but Valero, with brilliant racecraft, outfoxes the fox on the side of Saavedra's car to take the win here. Saavedra second and Kulhavi third.
So just like that, I knew things were going to be good, but we couldn't have asked for a better finish, other unless it was a photo finish. But just like that, Gael Valero showing why he's been dominant all season long out here in AMX, all throughout the past 3 seasons. So he didn't have that great of luck yesterday, getting knocked out of the races, but today he came back, came in here focused, and walking away with the win out here in heat number 1. So Amir, we're going to have to see if we have the battle happen again between Saavedra and Gael Valero. Again, 2 of the quickest guys that we've seen all day long out here at Tsukuba.
Definitely. And again, it's a testament to that both drivers race hard but race fair, even though they were involved in some collisions along the way. What an unbelievable finish. 0.2 of a second ultimately is the difference. As you can see there, that's not Valero, that's Saavedra, who's looking a little bit disconsolate. You can see the hands on his head when he crossed the line. He knew he just got a fox there. He just went narrow at the worst possible moment, and I will have to iterate the point. If you go narrow where you go in the middle of the racing line or on the inside before a corner in a TCR car, you're not going to make the corner. You're going to either go wide or you're going to really lose a lot of momentum, and that's how Valero just did Saavedra for that win.
And now the drivers lining back up for heat number 2. We are moments away, and just like that, folks, Pedro Dean had a bit of an incident, but now we'll be getting towards the front of the pack. Bruno De Carmo up there as well, so going to be a bit of a grudge match from some of these drivers trying to get back what they lost, and the green flag is down. Here we go, Pedro Dean, Bruno De Carmo towards the front. Pedro Dean, an excellent start up there, so has one of the best starts that we've seen in AMX. Anytime you go from a standing start, one of the guys going a little bit wide, looked like one of the Delete the Esports guys, but Pedro Dean of Bruno De Carmo, Pedro Moura, the Brazilians to the front of the pack early on.
Yep, and it's a Brazilian 1, 2, 3, 4. We saw a Brazilian 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 last night. Let's see if they're going to repeat this again, even though the numbers for Benitez and Dantas are not popping up at this point. We'll wait and see what they can do while they're at the back. But for now, up in front, it is Dean, De Carbo, Mora, and Resende. And incidentally, they got really sequential numbers too. 8, 9, 10, 11 up in front.
And we'll have to see, because right here now, we got Jackson and SNJ peeking towards the inside, not going for the move. Again, we've seen the last heat. Pedro Moura being a little bit aggressive. Some of these guys getting into some incidents, so I think these guys trying to play a little bit safer. But now, as we see there, Jackson Senji going off into the grass, kind of making a bit of his own line there on the outside. Not sure if he's going to get a slowdown penalty for that, but still now, lap number 2, we are through the first lap without any major incidents. Now lap number 2, Pedro Dean, Bruno De Carmo still holding it pretty tight up for that battle for first place, as well as Pedro Muno, Jackson Senji really looking for that opportunity to overtake into third place. So again, I think these guys know the mistakes that they made in heat number 1, not trying to make those same mistakes out here for heat number 2. But Jackson Senji so far looking like he might have the pace over Pedro Mura. He's just trying to wait for that perfect moment to get up in front, make it a delete. I mean, they'd love to have all the delete guys up on the podium, but having more than one of your teammates is always a great feeling as well.
And even more so when you have countrymen going through. As somebody's going backwards, that was Villarreal. He actually did a perfect J-turn there, though I'm not sure how on earth he ended up about a quarter of the way backwards on the back straight. Luckily, though, he got it flicked around quickly, but he is right at the back of the field now.
And so we go back up here, lap number 3 going on. So Pedro Dean in first, Bruno De Carmo second, and Pedro Muro in third place. We might get a battle between the Pedros once again that we got to see yesterday, but not to be fooled, we still got Bruno De Carmo in the mix of things. So he's been having a decent day out here. It just, again, some of these guys driving really hard, and whenever you drive hard, there's bound to be incidents going on. So Pedro Dean, I think right now just trying to run his own race. He came home with a win yesterday out in the Formula 1 cars. Now trying to make it 2 days in a row that he can get on that top spot of the podium.
Yeah, let's see if Dean will try to make it 3 wins in 4 heats, as we got a few people coming onto the Twitch chat as well. Analdo Zampa, hello everybody as well to the Twitch chat. We got Poco Prata and Drift God as well, the usual contributors in that chat. And of course, Poco Prata, a big supporter of the Delinte Tony Kanaan racing team. Now then, resuming back to the battle at hand, Resende has not been able to get up to the back of Bruno De Carmo, so he might be acting as rear gunner here to protect Carmo's second place away from the rest of the field. But incidentally, he's also blocking the back of, blocking the front of a fellow Brazilian, and Pedro Mora might be thinking of where he wants to overtake. He doesn't want to get taken. He doesn't want to get taken out, and certainly he doesn't want to make it 2 for 2 with Kulhavi.
And here we go back now. So we'll have to see these guys up front. Again, Pedro Mura doing his best, but now having to really fend off Gaston Kulhavi. So we'll see what happens out here. We've seen a battle going on between these two guys out in heat number 1. Now going to have a bit of a rematch for heat number 2. So we'll have to see. Now side by side, Pedro Mura has the inside line. We see right there Kulhavi trying to sweep it around the outside. Not really going to get it to work. We haven't seen it so far on this final turn of the track, but now door to door as they come across. He's really trying to squeeze him to the outside of the track, trying to hold on to that, but who is going to be later on the brakes again? I don't think there's going to be much, but Kulhavi, he forces the incident and barely gets away with that cleanly.
Oh, it nearly became part 2 between Mora and Kulhavi, but this time it didn't happen. But Kulhavi was just on the razor's edge of taking out Mora for a second straight race. As meanwhile, Mora might have had his heart in his hands, though, judging by the look of his face, yeah, he definitely was just thinking, okay, minor inconvenience, let's carry on.
So here we go. Man, just like that, I mean, that could have, it may have been a little bit controversial just depending on who you ask, but like we said, some people say, hey, Robin is racing. That one, though, could have very much ended up being one of those cars getting clipped right at the very end of it. So luckily, both of those guys still on track, still out here to fight, but there we see the ominous Dora the Explorer on the hood of Marco Saavedra. Marco Saavedra now also going to be trying to hold on to that. Is he going to make the outside move work? We see him take the lunge. No, leaves that door a little bit open. Now going to be going too wide right behind him. No, getting back into the train. So again, these guys, I think, really had to learn some hard lessons out here of how hard can you push these cars. Like we said, early on in the season, we had these races going 30 minutes for heat number 1 and heat number 2. Got a lot of feedback now coming out the rest of the season. Decided we're going to shorten it back to our typical format. But here's the incident that happened with Diego Villarreal. Just a little bit of argy-bargy going on, and just like that, getting caught up, tagged right on the rear quarter panel and getting sent into a half spin. Back out into a beautiful Jason. Wow, barely keeping it out of the wall, man. I swear some of these guys out here could be stunt drivers.
Yeah, certainly with Villarreal's years of experience, he definitely has taken a bit of that into that particular situation. Of course, he was taken out, but a brilliant recovery nonetheless. Now he's trying to get back at some of the drivers who overtook him. First up is Evandro Dantas, about 3 seconds ahead. The guy who instigated that contact, Ralph Benitez, is up in P9, so unfortunately for him, he's not going to be able to retaliate immediately. Meanwhile, up in front, Pedro Dean now is being reeled in by both Bruno De Carmo and Jackson Resende.
And we got to see. So I'm still waiting to see what happens if we get a rematch of what happened out in heat number 1, or if we're going to have someone new. I mean, again, Pedro Dean, Bruno De Carmo, Jackson Resende, all 3 of those guys doing a great job at the front of the pack. And qualifying, it was Marco Saavedra and Gael Valero back and forth out there in heat number 1. Again, Gael Valero, Marco Saavedra. So not seeing that quite as much as these guys still trying to battle their way all the way up through the field. Currently, we have Marco Saavedra in 6th place, as well as Gael Valero in 8th place. So a little bit harder for both of them, trying to just find opportunistic moves. Again, you don't really want to crash out, but oh, just as soon as I say that, a little bit of an incident there. Pedro Moura getting crashed out by Marco Saavedra. So Saavedra just getting into the back bumper of Pedro Moura, and just like that, folks, commentators' curse strikes once again.
Oh, not again. And I was already waxing lyrical about how Saavedra and Valero were just driving so well in that first heat, but he's proven to just be a bit more elbows out. And for the Brazilian guys, they might feel incensed by the fact that Saavedra is really going a little bit too full pelt in his overtakes.
Yeah, we've got a lot of, I mean, just all season long in some of these closer, tight racing situations. You know, we see that a lot in football out there between Argentina and Brazil as well, seeing it in racing. So that comes through all the way through AMX. I think that rivalry is always going to be there somewhat. Even some of these guys, again, we see the Delete the Esports guys, the SART Racing guys, a lot of these guys from all over South America. Again, Diego Villarreal out there representing Uruguay. But nonetheless, at the very end of the day, they all want to win, and I think some of them are willing to take a little bit more risk. Sometimes those risks pay off. Sometimes those risks are a little bit sketchy. And here we see the incident there. Pedro Moura just, slightly getting clipped right there. Just, it's so unfortunate when you see drivers having such a good race to get taken out in an instant.
Yeah, and that time by Ricardo Frizer, so a different sort of... I'm not sure where he's from exactly, because he is using the Iberian flag. He might be Portuguese, he might be Spanish, but unfortunately the Inquisition happens for Moura, and he's had enough of it. He's into the pits.
So there we see Pedro Moura again, if that's going to be his race, or if he's going to be getting back out on here to try and finish what's left of heat number 2. Again, these guys, we do have another race coming up after this. We're going to be heading from Tsukuba out there going to Motegi. And whoa, Gael Valero almost spinning out there. A beautiful save. So just trying to push it a little bit harder. He knows that we're halfway through this race. And like I mentioned earlier, when that halfway point comes, a lot of these drivers just try to turn it up, try to really find an extra gear in there, and just push with everything that they have until the end of the race.
Yeah, definitely. But I think that slight overstay you saw is just him trying to correct the understeer, and the car was just straightening itself out. But unfortunately, it just wasn't enough to get up to the back of Kulavi. But Saavedra. Meanwhile, confusing there. Lozano is in front of Valero. But either way, change for the move up in second place there. Resende has overtaken Bruno De Carmo for P2.
So just like that, still a Brazilian 1, 2, 3. Pedro Dean, Jackson Resende, Bruno De Carmo. Now as we go into lap number 11, gonna ride on board here, following Bruno De Carmo, doing still a great job of trying to defend off Gaston Kulavi, but we know Kulavi is hungry to get back up on the podium. Gonna see if he tries to pull out some of these hat tricks, really to try and just force a move, but I don't really see that too much. Both of these guys up front, I mean, really all 3 of them, Dean, Resende, Bruno De Carmo, all of those guys, again, very good, but I think if you're able to get into your opponent's head at this point in a race, that is what you have to do. So Gaston Kulavi trying to find a little bit different line out here, just really trying to find where does he have the grip, where does he not have the grip, and make something happen to get up onto the podium.
Yeah, but really though, where is he going to try to overtake him? Because Kulavi, of course, he has been involved in a couple of incidents as well. Unfortunately, the punching bag for today has been the really unfortunate Pedro Mora. I feel sorry for him. Your heart goes out to him that, well, you know it's hard racing, but to be taken out multiple times, you just have to really try and stomach it. Especially for Mora being looking like a really nice guy. Really, some of the guys in the chat really pointed out that they want him to win out of fear of the fact that he looks like a really good chap. But sadly for him today, in his first race, he might have to put it in the bin. Now he just has to focus on the second race after this when we head off to Motegi.
And so here we go out here now. Yeah, we got to hear in the race control from Amir's. Right now, lap number 12 of 20. We are still Brazil 1, 2, 3. The Argentinian drivers right behind have been a little bit more aggressive this race, but I think all of the drivers really, at this point, once you get past a certain I rating and you're used to these TCRs in all of the official races, you almost have to be aggressive if you want to win. I mean, there's really no other way around it. These cars not really able to slingshot too much around on some of these shorter tracks. So same thing that we got to see other than the home straight when we were back out at Mugello. We got to see a lot of the same types of driving throughout most of the course. So we will see Gaston Kulavi now still trying to make a move over Bruno de Carmo. Bruno doing an amazing job out defending out here, but these two battling it out has started to leave a bit of a gap. So about a 1.8 second gap between them in second place. We'll see Pedro Dean doing an excellent job running his own race up there in the front, already over a second gap. So I think right now, throughout the rest of this, if these drivers start keeping it clean, it's going to still be a battle going on for third place as well. We've got a battle going on back for P6 with Gael Valero and Mauricio Lozano.
Yeah, that is a podium battle ready to be brewing here as well, because you can see that for Valero, if he actually just stays with Lozano and probably get everything quickly, he is not that far away from going on to the podium for back-to-back races. But he's doing it now. He's on the inside of Lozano and gets him. So that clears one guy. Now he can actually focus on trying to get the podium.
And right now it's going to be a battle once again between Gael Valero and Marco Saavedra. Like we said, all the way from qualifying into Heat 1, now in Heat 2, where that's probably going to be the battle to start watching out for, as both of those guys fighting tooth and nail to really just do whatever they can to stay towards the front of the pack. But we'll have to see as Pedro Dean starting to slowly walk away. I mean, Jackson Sanjay starting to close that gap a little bit now, but still, Bruno de Carmo, Gaston Kulavi has been where the battle these last several laps going on. So we'll have to see if Jackson Sanjay can close that gap in time. We'll have to see, as currently Pedro Dean still has the fastest lap. However, on that last lap, Jackson Sanjay was almost 0.4 of a second faster than Pedro Dean. So Pedro Dean slowing down just a little bit. Not sure if tire wear is starting to come into effect now, Amir.
I think based on what we saw in the first heat, whoever was actually guarding their tires quite well are the ones who are in good shape. And for Kulavi, he can just back it off a bit to just try and give an attack to Bruno Carmo. And hopefully, for the sake of the Brazilians in the chat, because they've been seeing quite a few of their heroes taken out already, Kulavi will try to do a maneuver that will be fair, but will not cause too much histrionics.
And so here, the battle still ensuing. Third place now, lap number 15 out of 20 laps. We are 3/4 of the way through heat number 2. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in this heat. Who's going to come away with the overall win? Is it going to be Saavedra? Is it going to be Gael Valero? Or possibly one of these other guys now out in the mix? We'll have to wait and see. But still, as we come on, Jackson Sanjay still slowly trying to close the gap. So I think now Pedro Dean starting to feel a little bit more pressure from Jackson right behind him. Again, I think Jackson Sanjay wasn't pushing it too hard. Now, again, the second half of the heat really started to put it. The last several laps, Jackson has just been a slightly faster every single lap than Pedro Dean. So if they go at this pace, last time around it was about almost 0.4 of a second. Right now, it's another 1/10 of a second. So again, there's about 4 laps left in this thing. Jackson Sanjay very well could have a chance at getting the win here.
For Resende, it's a matter of where he can try to overtake Pedro Dean. Now, Dean, we know how good he is in open wheelers. We saw that in Super Formula and in the Mercedes W13 cars. But in the tin tops, he has proven to be quite a tough cookie to crack in certain areas, especially when you try to overtake him. So let's hope his defending is going to be clean. But for Resende, he is a hard racer as well. So it's between two, once again, just like what you saw in the first heat, two immovable objects.
And just like that, again, these guys still trying to play it safe a little bit. Now we see the battle still going on. It's still two-way battle, not quite yet a three-way battle for third place, but Saavedra and Gael Valero right behind them are starting to slowly close in on that gap. There's only a few laps left in this thing, so I don't think, unless there's another incident that happens late in the race, that either Saavedra or Gael Valero are going to end up on the podium. Both of them 1-2 in qualifying, a 1-2 out in heat number 1. Both of them may be missing the podium, like I said, unless these guys battle for third place. Gets a little bit heated, a little bit dicey. Here we see Gaston Kulavi now, still just not quite finding enough room around Bruno De Carmo. Again, is this what we're going to see, what happened in heat number 1 of these guys just trying to make a dive to the inside or just try to squeeze someone from the outside? Again, we have only about 3 more laps left to see if that's going to happen. Nonetheless, out here we can see what the guys are battling for. The prizes popping up on the right side. First place walking away with $20 for every single heat. So you get first in qualifying heat 1, heat 2. That is $60 plus the option of getting fastest lap. Though we've seen some guys do it before. Not looking like it's going to happen quite today, but a good spread of all of the drivers no matter what. Like we said, a lot of these battles going on here are assuming, well, I'm not assuming, I know are definitely going to be getting over once we head over to Motegi.
Yeah, but as what August Mai was pointing out in the Twitch chat, there's a good chance that Kuhavi might fancy his chances coming into the first turn. But we saw in the previous heat how Valero just outfoxed Saavedra coming into turn number 10. So really, if he wants to try that again, Saavedra might be more aware of it. He doesn't want to go narrow. This is gonna be intense battling all the way to the end, and it's not over between these guys. These positions might just swap.
And here we go. So now on the penultimate lap, 19 out of 20. Pedro Dean still in the lead, right in front of Jackson Sanjay. Bruno De Carmo, a little bit of a gap between second and third, but Bruno De Carmo still trying to defend for his life against Gaston Kulavi. I think a lot of these guys, like we said, just the aggressiveness that they've showed out here on track all weekend long has really turned the tides for most of these drivers. So again, Kulavi knows he wants to get up into that podium position, but seeing how clean are these drivers going to keep it, I think that is kind of what it's come down to this entire time. Not so much making an error on the drivers in front, really leaving that door wide open. It's been a bit of how aggressive some of these people want to be. Is right there too. Gael Valero holding on to the back bumper of Saavedra. So multiple battles going on throughout the pack as now we are coming around the final turn. The white flag getting ready to fly.
Yep, the white flag has actually been unfurled now because Dean crosses the line and still, amazingly, held on to the lead.
So here we go, folks. With the white flag out, Pedro Dean still in the lead. Jackson Sanjay behind him. Pedro Dean holding him at arm's length still, just between half a second and a second nearly these entire last 5 laps. So Pedro Dean definitely finding him. He hasn't let the pressure get to him from Jackson Sanjay. Jackson doing what he can now, but it's going to take a miracle or for Pedro Dean to make a mistake if Jackson is going to get that top spot. Things are looking great so far. Pedro Dean coming out here, running the race that he can. Had a bit of misfortune out in heat number 1, but he said, hey, I'm back here for heat number 2. Going to be leading this race, and he's led it the entire time. So huge congratulations. Now we're going back through the final corner. Pedro Dean coming out here, another winner 2 days in a row as he crosses the final corner across the checkered flag. Another sigh of relief from him. Jackson Sanjay in second place, and Bruno De Carmo doing a great job holding off Gaston Kulavi for that third place position.
Well, you can see the look of relief on his face, but it really doesn't show the fact that it was quite a very tense few moments for him trying to hold on to that one. But in the end, he prevailed, and once again shows that once he gets up in front, he really becomes the Minister of Defense, as Poco Prata puts it for De Carmo. He is the Minister of Defense in Brazil, but the very first, or rather the secretary of it, is Pedro Dean.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got to see last season, I think it was all eyes on Jackson Sanjay for his great defending. Now we get to see the great defending from his teammate Bruno De Carmo. But there we go, folks. your Ben Q session winner. We got Pedro Dean back in that first place position, followed by Jackson Asenje in second place, Bruno DeCarmo in third, Gaston Culavi fourth place, fifth goes to Marco Saavedra, sixth Gael Valero, seventh place Mauricio Lozano, eighth Ralph Benitez, ninth Gerard Sardeni, 10th Bandro Dantas, 11th place Diego Villarreal, 12th place Roberto Frizer, and rounding out in 13th, unfortunately, Pedro Mura getting caught up in an incident, down 7 laps, rounding out 13th. May possibly be a DNF for that one. We got to see him hit the pits, but nonetheless, Amir, a huge congratulations to our drivers throughout the entire day. Pedro Dean able to come back after that incident in Heat 1 and take it home for Brazil. The Brazilian 1, 2, 3 out on the podium.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? Second day straight that we have at least a podium for all 3 Brazilians there. And really, it shows one thing, that they take their seat racing seriously, virtually or in real life. But nonetheless, the class of the entire field from yesterday proves again that he can actually jump to another class of car and just win on it. So Pedro Dean, congratulations. Now, let's see if he could actually replicate that when we move to another track after this.
And speaking of going to another track, everyone make sure not to go anywhere, because out here very soon we are heading it over to Motegi, what was formerly known as the Twin Rings Motegi. Now we are gonna be this is one I don't think we've really seen much in iRacing. Doesn't get raced too much other than the super formulas. I know it's very huge for that as well. It's very huge for MotoGP. So being out here in the TCR cars, it's going to be a little bit different, but nonetheless, we'll see if our drivers can carry on the momentum from Tsukuba out to Motegi. Everyone, we will see you all very shortly as we will let these drivers hit the practice at Motegi, and time for us to catch our plane ticket over there. So our TCR doubleheader will resume momentarily. Max Verstappen back into first place. They want to make that move, but here goes Gustavo Ariel diving to the inside. Gael Valero looking for the move over Archie Neumann. He has it.
And you can just see Beto Silva pushing Florian Labigra right over.
Oh, Chris Lalum, he does make that
All right.
pass.
Gael Valero doing his best on the outside. Gets sideways, and no! Teammates crash. We had the number 11 going right there. 3 wide out there in the middle of the field. Through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
Towards the Niki Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash.
2 wide now, door to door. Max Verstappen to Vandro Dantas. Max Verstappen able to safely rejoin. Slots it right in front of another car. Max Verstappen back into first place. They want to make that move, but here goes the Tsukuba aerial diving to the inside. Kyle Valero looking for the move over Archie Royman. He has it.
And you can just see Motegi pushing Florian Labigra right over.
Oh, Chris Lallum, he does make that pass.
Kyle Valero doing his best on the outside, gets sideways, and no, the teammates crashed. We had the number 11 going right there. 3 wide out there in the middle of the field, through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
Towards the Nicky Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash.
2 wide now, door to door. Max Verstappen to Vanderdantis. Max Verstappen able to safely rejoin. Slots it right in front of another car.
Carousel immediately, he gets punted off. That was Saavedra. Aguilar, he's gone off, he's been tapped, and he's into the barriers. Oh, the rejoin, oh no!
Dean. Oh, Pedro, Dean.
Oh, Chris Lallum does have the inside track for the Swiss left. If he's able to make that pass happen, he might be able to cut away Victorino. He does make that pass, and he makes it clean as they come into the right hand. And this is it. Chris Lallum seizes the opportunity and makes it. And just as the end, the rain comes to put a pin onto the end of the race, and Chris Lallum takes it. Right there, Vic Miranda, Pedro Zuba into the wall.
It's actually Valero. Valero's actually gone off into the barriers, coming up to the cutting.
David Todd making his way back up, has already climbed 7 positions.
Oh, Oh, spoke too soon there. Zende goes up.
So right now, this is going to be where it's going to get shaken up. David Toth passes them while they are in the pit through the mountain straight now, going 3 wide.
Oh my word, that is probably one of the best shows of the entire season.
So we have 3-way battle going to the most dangerous turn of the mountain. Up the mountain, we have contact right there. These guys going absolutely crazy. It's going to come down to the final corner, Murray's corner. Who is going to have to lead? We may have a drag race to the finish line on our hands, folks. You see David Toth right now going into the pit lane.
We go racing for heat number 1 here in Austria. Over AMX20 in towards the Mickey Lauda curve, bumping and banging and into the wall. That is a horrible crash. That's a huge lunge from Gaston Kallavi, and he's made contact with, I believe, oh wow, it's a chaotic moment here. No slipstream in front for either car, and you can just see Metazuba pushing Florian Lamigra right over.
Here we go then, Valeri, he looks left, he looks right, he's getting to the right hand side, which is the inside going 8 to 10-3.
Here it is. This is the crucial moment in this race. It's looking like it's only going one way. David Toth is going to take the race lead. Heading into the second half of the season, the Hungarian of David Toth has driven a masterclass here with the early pit stop. Not the ideal strategy, but an ideal race winner and an excellent performance.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the AMX Sim Racing World Championship, where we're continuing our Japanese doubleheader out here in the TCR cars. I'm Kevin, and alongside me in the booth is Amir. Amir, it's been a great day so far. We got to see these drivers really put it down with only a couple of incidents here and there out at Tsukuba. But now, as we headed over to Motegi, what can we expect to see out on track?
Oh, sorry about that, Kevin. Yeah, about to say that Twittering Motegi is gonna be a bit more of a processional race because again, it's a much bigger track compared to Tsukuba. It is well and truly more towards trying to find the right opportunities to overtake. Yes, you will still see some side-by-side action, but compared to Tsukuba, where you can have few corners where it gaggles everything together, this one it might be a bit more sparse. But I'll be happy to be wrong on this one because the TCR cars, as usual, just provide some good action.
So, formerly known as the Twin Rings, out here now, Mobility Resort Motegi. Yeah, there's a lot more places out here, but like we said, before we catch up on our drivers, I know they want to get out of Tsukuba, head over there, get in some practice, but just a quick reminder for everyone out there, we've been out here a few weeks. We only have one more week after today's races for our TCR cars. So, Guy Alvalero currently in the lead. I mean, things are looking good for him so far, but like we said, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves just yet. And speaking about getting ahead of ourselves, we have a bit of housekeeping to go over for those viewers just tuning in. Like we said, man, I can't believe we've been here already. It's almost the end of the season, only a few weeks left. We have the drivers, again, outside of just the championship points, getting to see them in all of the different classes has been a treat. But we've been here since September 7th, more specifically, and going all the way into November 17th. This season's prize pool, over $11,000 plus next level racing gear. And let's get out here for AMX10. We got the format, heard back from the drivers. Today's races, qualifying of 20 minutes, followed by that top 15 reverse grid, followed by heat number 1 of 20 minutes and another top 15 reverse grid into that second 20-minute heat. So it was 30 minutes for heat number 1 and heat number 2. We heard a lot of feedback from the drivers, a lot of feedback out there, and now got a little bit different format going on the rest of the season. So 20 and 2020, the typical AMX format that we've seen in past seasons. All of our drivers out there, your driver cams are required to be out on track. You can get the link via our AMX Discord or out on the website. And for everyone out there getting their points, balances are paid over $100 balances every single month. So once you hit that threshold, expect that money headed your way. We're out here every single Saturday and Sunday this season. So like I said, every single weekend this season, tons of great AMX action. You can get signed up to race at any time over to amxrace.com. And Saturday's kicking it off with AMX 0 starting at 5:50 p.m. GMT, followed by AMX 5 right after at 7:10 p.m. On Sundays, we got our AMX10 TCR doubleheader starting at 5:50 p.m. with that second race at 7:20 p.m. And on the opposite weekends, we got AMX 15, our mini endurance racing, starting at 5:50 p.m. So this is how it looks in terms of prizes for our AMX10 races, all the way from qualifying into heat number 1 and heat number 2. First place will be taking home $20. Second place will be taking home $12. Third place taking home $8. All the way down points into 15th place, with the fastest lap of heat number 1 and heat number 2 getting an extra $1 per heat, totally to a prize pool per race of $400. And for all of our drivers out here, if you want to win some of this money, you must have a minimum I rating of 3,000 to get involved in AMX 10. And like I said, things have been heating up out here. A great race of the first half of the day, but out here now, formerly Twin Ring Motegi, now Mobility Resort Motegi. I mean, I haven't raced this track as much, but definitely a great track nonetheless.
Certainly, and because the oval was there first before they wound the road course underneath it, because they wanted to bring American open wheel racing into here, but specifically the kart FedEx Championship Series at that time. That's why it was open in 97. It was one of the first instances of why Japan wanted to bring them over to learn more about American open wheel racing. But Motegi itself, located in the Toshiki Prefecture, not far away from where we were just now in Tsukuba, that was in Ibaraki. It's a 4-kilometer circuit with just under 5-kilometer circuit with some varying degrees of corners, including the champion curve at the end. But overall, such a shame to see that the oval is not being used anymore after the Toho curve in 2011. Still, the road course exists to this day, and we still see some great action from Super Formula and Super GT. But today, we're going to see a different form of four-wheel racing take over, and it's a great segue to this class of car. The TCR class, once again, is being utilized for this one. 315 to 350 horsepower, front-wheel drive, 1.2 to 1.5 tons, and once again, we had to make for that point of drivers not having to take their hands off the wheel. The flappy pedal gearboxes really come into play here for these guys, so they don't have to worry about the shifting, but still, getting back on the throttle with these things is really difficult. We saw just now how a couple of times some drivers coming a cropper when they went side by side.
Yeah, a lot of great racing out here, so it's great to see iRacing preserve this track, both the oval and as well as the road course. But today, we're not going to be worrying about the oval. We're going to be out here, which typically a lot of these guys known for the Super Formula races out in Japan, as well as the MotoGP heading out on this track. So, like I said, a little bit different combination of what you might not normally see with TCR classes running around the Grand Prix course out of Motegi, but nonetheless, it's still going to be a little bit of a contrast from what we got to see earlier, but nothing too different from what a lot of these drivers are used to racing throughout the season.
Yeah, it's certainly the track. It's a mixed bag. You have some straights running parallel to each other, but then you got some really tight 90-degree corners that pair those straights, and then after that, going under the bridge that goes underneath the now disused oval. And we're getting into some really fast bits, some fast-flowing corners here. As you can see the live timing on the right-hand side of the screen, you can find out how your favorite driver is doing. But here we're coming up to the tail end of the fifth sector. We have 6 sectors in this one. Really weird series of corners, and then after that we go for the stop-start bits to the hairpin, and then we blast through the final sector.
Yeah, looking out on track right now. So, does look like we do have a driver missing. It looks like Pedro Dean, who we got to see take home a win in Heat 2 out at Tsukuba, is unfortunately not going to be able to make it out here to Motegi. So, we had 13 drivers earlier on, now looking about only 12 drivers. So, unfortunately, Pedro Dean not going to be with us for this one. But looking at the overall point standings, I don't think it's too big of a deal for Pedro Dean, because he was not really fighting for a championship out here in AMX10. I know the championship is between himself and Gael Valero. Of course, Pedro Dean, second place in the overall points for AMX5. Gael Valero pretty much in the lead for all of the classes so far this season, minus AMX15. It's a very tight battle out there, AMX15, between Juan Blenat and Gael Valero. So everyone definitely make sure to tune in live for next weekend, as well as this, looking at the schedule, our penultimate race before we headed over to Germany for our final stop of the TCR World Series in AMX10, Amir.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how that one would go next week. But really, to have one guy missing from this one, yeah, we're going to the Saxon Ring and the Nürburgring for that to top off the entire TCR World Tour that we're having right now. Such a shame that Dean didn't make it for this one, so we're robbed of at least one potential competitor that will spice things up, but nonetheless, we still have plenty of drivers in this entire field that can give some of the TCR specialists a run for their money.
Yeah, looking out here, so after the earlier race after Tsukuba, it does look like Marcos Saavedra came away the top winner, just only 2 points over Gael Valero for that one, so he's going to be happy about that, but still not too happy. Gaston Kulavi coming in 4th overall from the first race of the day out at Tsukuba. There we see him on track now, currently in 2nd place on qualifying, but that is the battle for the lead. There's quite a few between Bruno De Carmo, Jackson Asenge, as well as Gaston Kulavi, all those guys up, trying to shift around a little bit in the overall point standings. But like I said, Gael Valero with commanding lead. If he is able to take home a win in Heat 1 and Heat 2, like I said, it's very much looking like he may be walking away with his championship come next weekend. But again, having a double header, anything can happen. Each of these races now, just a quick reminder, the overall points that the driver can get if they have a perfect day out here in one of these races is going to be 62 points. So if Gael Valero is somehow magically able to get a 24-point lead, he won't have to show up for next weekend, but that is not looking likely, as like I said, Gaston Koulabi already in second place out in qualifying.
Yep. Only about 2/10 behind Bruno De Carmo, and a much longer distance for the cars to cover. Of course, nearly 5 kilometers. That's why the lap times are in the 2 minutes as opposed to being under a minute when we were at Tsukuba. Nonetheless, this longer circuit will make the drivers more circumspect of when they want to go back to the pits or just carry on with their qualifying session, because any time on the board and they still keep on going on it is important to build up for a crescendo towards the end of the session and see if they could continuously improve on their times.
And another fun fact out there, like we said, it used to be the Twin Rings. Out there on the oval track out here at Motegi, there was one NASCAR race that was ran back in 1998 for the Coca-Cola 500. So definitely a great historic moment for NASCAR, taking it over to Japan for that race. And that was the first race in which Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. both competed against each other, driving number 3 and number 1 Chevy Coca-Cola Corvettes that season. So great history around this track, like you mentioned as well, the IndyCar all the way up in through 2011. So I mean, I think there's a lot of times we see Japanese cars, Japanese racing out here being fond of American racing. I know the same thing out here in the US. A lot of people, especially with Formula Drift, just how many different cross-cultural things we get to see between the US and Japan over the years.
Oh, certainly, yeah. We saw in that little Sean Terra in the background where we were coming through to introduce the circuit and everything. Ibisu circuit, that's another one of those staples in Formula Drift. So it's quite nice to see that a bit of cultural exchange has happened, not just between the States and Japan, but from around the world. The main exports, the cars, the culture, and the racing as a whole, it really is showing that Japan is one motorsport-centric country. We are forever eternally grateful for it.
And I'm looking at the sector times right now. Jackson Sanjay looking to put down a better lap than he had. So we'll have to see as he comes across the line. Is he going to improve his lap? Looks like not just quite. Here we go across the line. So Jackson Sanjay currently sitting in that 3rd place. Looking like he will hold on to it. But here we go. Gael Valero also on the sectors, setting 2 of the fastest sectors now. Gael Valero improving on his time. So a 2:03.087. Amir, let's see if these guys, anyone out here, can set a time under 2 minute 3 second. I know it's a little bit cooler on track right now, about 20 degrees air temperature, 38 degrees on track, so a vast contrast as well from what we see now at Tsukuba. Tsukuba is a little bit on the warmer side.
Yep, definitely, and it reflects on the lap times as well, that the drivers can get it up to temperature not as quickly as they would have wanted because of a hot surface. Now slightly cooler, this really helps out, so the drivers can go full ham for at least a few laps before they decide to just hang back a bit and maybe cool off those tires. Some of the guys that we're looking on right now, Valero and De Carmo up in front, those are usual suspects in touring cars. Vicente 3rd, 4th Benitez, and 5th is Koulabi, who's now going out for yet another lap. We're watching Saavedra right now, fastest in that first sector, and he's setting PBs in 3, 4, 5. Let's see how he's going to nail it in the final sector here, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marco Saavedra, of course, he was the top of the qualifying out there at Tsukuba and got 2nd place in that heat number 1. So it was a back and forth all day long between Saavedra and Gael Valero. Right now, it's looking like, again, he's out in the middle of the pack. I know Tsukuba, a lot more of the drivers, especially in iRacing, tend to run Tsukuba a lot more than they may out here at Motegi. Mostly the drivers in the open wheel cars. That's why I'm a little bit disappointed that we don't get to see Pedro Dean. But there we go, Marco Saavedra setting the fastest lap. So here he comes, looking to repeat what he had earlier on in the day. Now, with 7 minutes left in qualifying, Saavedra, the first driver to break that 2 minute 3 second.
Wow, wait, and nearly a 10th, or in fact over a 10th faster than Valero. Game on, and Valero now comes back to the pits to reset and reprime his car for another run. De Carmo, no improvement as of yet. He's still Saavedra's back in the pits too. Resende is in the pits. The only other driver that of note among the fast guys is back out on track. One of them is Gaston Koulabi. The other one was Diego Villarreal. Villarreal was the one who came a cropper a bit with fellow teammate from the SART team going off track earlier. Then that was Kulhavi and Villarreal nearly coming to blows. But luckily though, going just ever so slightly smoothly for these guys right now. But for Villarreal, that wasn't the way to start his qualifying.
And seen out here, so a couple of the SART guys out on track. I know we missed them yesterday for AMX 0 and AMX 5, but I got to see out on their Instagram. Looked like the SART team was out there cheering on some of the guys, them getting to drive out in a Formula 3 car. So I don't blame them for that. If I had the opportunity to drive an F3 car versus being able to be in the sim, I would take that opportunity all day long. So I got to see them out there with Dino Felipe. Dino Felipe, one of those drivers that we've seen quite a bit, not quite as much this season, as he has now moved over to a lot of real life driving. So great to see them, as well as all of the other drivers, both in the sim and in real life, whenever they be able to make it out here, not racing in real life. Great to see them on both of them. Like I said, a lot of these guys, follow them on social media. Just love seeing what the community is doing around here. But right now, Pedro Mura currently sitting a little bit towards the back of the pack right now in 10th place, trying to just find where he can inch out those extra tenths of a second around here. Currently still in the low 204s, trying to break into the 203s.
Yeah, not really having the best of times this time, but the upshot is that since he is right now in P9, he will be starting P3 when we flip the script, so it won't be too hard by it. He might miss out on a couple of dollars qualifying faster here, but regardless, is the race that he's focusing on, and he is in a good position when we go into that. Now, guy further up in the standings, this is Mauricio Lozano coming through the final two corners. He's on a PB as well for the first four sectors. Let's see if he improves across the line. Does he climb up through the order? The answer is yes, but by just one position in front of Frizer.
So there we go. As now quite a few drivers back on their out lap towards the front. So some of the fastest drivers, we'll have to keep an eye on them as well. As here's another driver, the Spaniard Gerard Sardeni, he was one of the few that we've seen last time around in the Audi. This time it's looking, of course, with a lot longer straights out at Motegi. The Audi's definitely going to shine. Only a couple of drivers out in the Hyundais as well as the Hondas. So we'll have to see if the Audi's going to inch out. Like I said, for Marco Saavedra, it doesn't make a difference to him. He's going to be fast in whatever TCR vehicle that he really comes out here. So again, a lot of this comes down to what are these guys really comfortable. As there we see Gael Valero now weaving back and forth, the Apex Racing driver, of course, current points leader in the championship, looking very good for him. He's trying to take home 3 different class championships as well as the overall championship this season. So we know he has it in him with his consistency, and at this point, like we said, Amir, he has this race as well as 2 more in Germany to claim that championship.
Yeah, he's in the box seat on this one. Plus, he really wants to stamp his authority in not only just one championship, but he's also going for a trifecta and the overall one. So really, the only thing stopping him right now is whether or not he can just commit to the whole thing. But I doubt it. I doubt that he will back out of it. He will go for it either way. And right now, just a 10th behind, I think no, just about over a 10th behind Saavedra. He's still going for it. He still wants that extra payout at the end of the session, as you can see on the right hand side of the screen.
And looking out here, so just taking a look, Marco Saavedra, so far he does have the least amount of laps on here, so he was able to set that lap out there pretty early on. Again, he is probably one of the best hot lappers that we see out in the TCRs. I mean, just this season, definitely out in Japan, it seems to be looking great for his way. $20, I mean, I think a lot of times people don't put that much focus on the qualifying in some other racing series just because the qualifying is simply a good grid position. But out here in AMX, with having the same 20-minute qualifier, 20-minute heats 1 and 2, all taking home the same amount of prizes for first place, these guys definitely doing what they can to try and get every single 10th, every single 100th out here. Another one of these guys, Jackson Asenje, Bruno De Carmo as well, the 2 Delinta Esports drivers up there, kind of swapping back and forth. We'll see if Jackson is able to get up into that 3rd place over his teammate, but all of them nonetheless, the Brazilians, we got to see a Brazilian 1, 2, 3 earlier, and there he goes, Jackson Asenje up into that P2 position with less than 2 minutes remaining in qualifying.
Yep, and that is a very good time for Rechende. He splits the Argentine and Frenchman. Still, not enough to break into the 203, 202s just yet, but I think he is still on the one final flyer here to make a difference. And nope, that might just blow everything out the window because Valero just went completely fastest by 300ths of a second in the 202s.
So, like I said, we'll have to see exactly where it comes at now. Gaston Kulavi right in the middle of the pack. P6 currently, again, a lot of these drivers still look pretty good times out there to be in the low 203s out here. Still blazing fast, but like I said, those top two drivers, we got to see it out at Tsukuba between Gael Valero, Marco Saavedra, and history is already repeating itself. It is once again Gael Valero, Marco Saavedra, the top two fastest drivers out here in qualifying. As we have less than 30 seconds, Gaston Kulavi trying to get up into some of those top spots. You know, right now, if he finishes in the 6th place position, this is roughly where he's going to be starting on the grid as well. So halfway point, not really going to be getting too much benefits of that reverse grid.
Yeah, let's see what Saavedra can do. Can he improve to go back into pole position? No, that time around at 203.1, and that's the end of his qualifying. So, Valero, as the comments point out, that's how fast, Junior. I'm going to take that away from you. And he did by just 300ths of a second.
And with Pedro Dean being absent in this one, it's going to be one less driver that these guys are going to have to worry about battling it out through the back of the pack all the way through the front. But there we go. Your BenQ session winner out here in qualifying, Gael Valero with a 2-minute, 2-second .940. Marco Saavedra just right behind him in 2nd place. Jackson Asenge in 3rd. Bruno De Carmo 4th place. In 5th, we got Ralph Benitez. Gaston Kulavi in 6th. Mauricio Lozano 7th. Bernard Sardeni in 8th. Roberto Frizer 9th, Pedro Mura 10th, Diego Villarreal 11th, and rounding it out in 12th place, we got Evandro Dantas.
Yep, and the field slightly more spread out compared to what we saw in Tsukuba, but still, first to last, 1.2 seconds. That is still very competitive among these guys. And for Dantas and Villarreal, they will try to be the blockers up in front come the first heat.
So we'll have to see as we get some more beautiful shots of Japan. I mean, one of the most unique cultures in the world, alongside a lot of the different countries that we've been to so far out here on our TCR World Tour this season. Just, I know Japan has its staple and some of the most beautiful artwork out there, but as we get back to the racetrack here, we have Evandro Dantas will be in pole position from that reverse grid, as well as Diego Villarreal up there on the front of the grid as well. So we'll have to see Evandro Dantas if he's able to hold it off. He's going to have the block for his life. Diego Villarreal doing pretty good out there in that pink Sart MC livery. But Amir, here we go, moments away from the green flag. Who's going to get a great start? We've got to see from earlier on in Tsukuba. We're going to have a repeat, or we're going to have somebody new up on the grid, up on that podium, as now the lights are green. We have our drivers going. A great move already from the middle of the pack. The drivers now going 3 wide out on the home stretch as we go into turn number 1. A beautiful move from Evandro Dantas. Pedro Muro, Diego Villarreal falling back in position, but we already have Evandro Dantas going wide off the track.
Wow, that was actually quite a bold move from Dantas, but it didn't pay off. He went into the kitty litter, but look who's already up in front. That is Pedro Mora. Mora's up to P2, but he's got Kulavi behind, and a trio of the Linte cars falling off into the background. They all ended up together in the gravel trap.
So just like that, again, these guys being aggressive off the bat. No turn 1 incidents out here so far, but again, it is still early on in the race. We know these guys, they have a bit of a battle to settle from heats number 1 and 2 out there at Tsukuba. Coming back out here with a little bit of a grudge match going on, but still, Mauricio Lozano doing a great job. The Mexican driver up front trying to bring it home on the podium as well. Especially a great day if he's able to do that. I know we have out there Formula 1, the Mexican Grand Prix, so it'd be great to see Mexicans up on the podium all day in racing. But still, Pedro Mura, the Brazilian driver right behind, we know he has what it takes as long as he can keep a clean race. Gaston Kulavi, the Argentine, right behind him in that number 27 Sart MC car. So still great job going on. Mauricio Lozano definitely going to have to defend for his life as he has some quick drivers starting to make their way up through the pack now.
And one of those drivers making his way up through the pack is Valero. He's already up to P5. Here he goes then, side by side with Diego Villarreal. And so Villarreal doesn't end up going backwards once again. and having to J-turn his way out of trouble. 4 cars coming together there. We're looking up between Mora and Kohlhavi. There we go. That's that little battle that was being mentioned, alluded to. Valero on the outside becomes the inside line through Champion Curve, and he takes P4 away once again from Villarreal, with Fraser coming through. Villarreal is being swamped left and right and center, but there goes Fraser into the grass on the start-finish straight. And wow, that first lap alone had a lot of drivers chopping and changing, but once the field settles itself a bit, we might just see some one-line action after this, but I could be wrong. These guys can still push it all the way even at a long track.
Yeah, we're going to definitely have to keep an eye on what's going on in the middle of the pack. I mean, just how close these guys are getting, things could turn on a dime. Oh, just as soon as I say that, we get a spin out right there. So that's Roberto Fraser going off into the gravel trap. So just like that, I knew things were getting a little bit dicey, and that's all it took, is these guys starting to just be a little bit more aggressive, trying to get every single fight tooth and nail for those positions. And here we go, another side-by-side. Pedro Mura, Gaston Kohlhavi, who is going to have it coming out here. Gaston Kohlhavi with the slight advantage going into this right-hander. Again, able to slot right up into P number 2. Pedro Mura falling down to 3rd place.
Yeah, Mora then in a Honda 1, 2, 3. That's what the Japanese will love to see, isn't it? 3 guys up in front, sporting the home brand, leading the way. But Mora, though, looks as though he wants to retaliate back against Kohlhavi. Not this time around. And he'll have to worry about that exit because Valero is up to 4th and is right behind his bumper.
And there we go. So again, Mauricio Lozano taking advantage of the battle going on behind him now. A 1.2 second lead. As we see Gael Valero now trying to make the move over Pedro Mura. We got a drag race going down the home straight between these 2 guys there. Gael Valero slight advantage over Pedro Mura again in that Audi, just a little bit better on those high speed sections, able to slot right in front now. Gael Valero taking home that 3rd place position on lap number 2. So we'll have to see, as we got 10 laps out here at Motegi, a bit longer course than we got to see earlier on. Gael Valero in the Audi. Amir, we might have to see if that was the car to choose for Motegi.
Well, it remains to be seen though, because up in front are the Hondas right now, so we'll wait and see if the straight line advantage that the Audi has in spades might come in handy, especially through the corners. But through these tight turns though, the Audi is a bit outgunned by the Hyundai and the Honda. We'll wait and see now if that straight line advantage can come to the rescue of those guys in the Audi. Case in point right now, Sardeni being hounded by Saavedra, and by the looks of it, yes, enough of the straight line speed to just hold on to it, but through the corners, Saavedra can catch up.
But right there too, we see a little bit of damage already to the back bumper of Sardeni. So he's already had someone going to him now. A late braking move there. Saavedra going into the inside, able to hold on to that now. Gains up another position over Sardeni. So a beautiful move right there, just late on the brakes. Gonna ask for a more textbook move right there. But like we said, Marco Saavedra has Sardeni hot on his heels once we get back into these straights. So out in the Velosters, doing great on the brakes, out-braking the Audis in most of these places that we've seen all day long. But again, a very well-balanced track, has a couple of these long straights that these guys in the Audis trying to take advantage of. And there we see right there the Delete the Esports driver, Bruno De Carmo, trying to take advantage of the battle now, getting a great run as well, side by side with Sardeni. Is he going to have enough right here? We'll have to see. This is a very dangerous place, so not getting too close, just saying, all right, it's only lap number 3. I'm going to try and wait until I can get that opportune moment. And here we go, back onto the straight. He's going to try to go side by side again, get that advantage to the inside turn, and we'll see if he's later on the brakes.
And it looks as though the Carmo actually does have to worry about being late on the brakes. He's got the move done, gets back on the racing line and takes away P6 from Gerard Sardeni. Now he'll have to focus his sights on getting onto the back of Marco Saavedra, who's now, we've seen how it was in the first races now. Very hard to overtake.
And here we go, Gael Valero currently holding the fastest lap, so he does have pretty good pace already into the 2 minute 2 seconds. So again, Gael Valero, he's going to be closing that gap very soon, but right now we have a battle going on. Mauricio Lozano, Gaston Kulavi, who's going to get out of this? Gael Valero just lurking in the background. Lozano trying to defend for his life going out here, but again, now we see to the inside, Kulavi, is he going to have it? Oh, there's guys trying to keep it careful as well, but with that long double left-hander, it looks like Gaston Kulavi is going to easily get up into first place. Gael Valero now finally closed the gap into third, also looking to pounce into that second place position.
Yep, but crucially though, can the guys up in front hang on to it here, because Kulhavi only has about 0.3 of a second as an advantage. It's a bit of a buffer that he could try to hold on to from Lozano. Lozano, of course, he will love to aim for the win. And for Valero in third, who made some good inroads between these front two, he'll be just trying to buy this time, because we're not even at a halfway point, by the way, Kevin. We're still only on lap 4. The next half of the race, we will see some drivers probably just go for moves that we didn't expect. Like now, that's not normally an overtaking maneuver in the best of times, because it's such a tight corner you might run wide, but Valero makes it stick. He's not hanging about.
Yeah, definitely. So Gael Valero just absolutely putting in the pace out here. So we've seen right now Gaston Kulavi up 6 places, Gael Valero up 10. So Gael Valero being the biggest mover now, hunting down Kulavi. We are going to see the 2 points leaders out here for AMX 10 trying to battle it out for that first place. Both of them want the win, but Gael Valero looking like he's going to keep inching his points lead ever so further. Did amazing out there in qualifying, and now seen a lot of shifting going back there. Looks like, I'm not sure if there might have been an incident in the background. We have a lot of shifting going around on the timing screen. A lot of these guys going back and forth. So we have a lot of battles going on all the way throughout the pack.
Indeed, and as August Mind puts it in the Twitch chat, that's an interesting point, isn't it? We did talk about tires and a bit of fuel in the first race just now at Tsukuba. Now in this second race, it's also going to be an interesting point. A longer circuit, can these tires last? Yes, but can they still have enough useful life in it? 50-50 at this point. So those guys who are behind, chasing another guy in front, they might just hang back a bit and conserve their tires, likes of Valero and Lozano. They're not in a haste to get back up to the front. They just want to watch how Kulhavi handles the pressure.
Yeah, and again, I mean, out here, there's a lot more room on the track than we got to see at Tsukuba. Tsukuba, there's quite a bit more incidents going on, but I mean, just the track itself was a bit more narrow. Out here, typically on some of these more MotoGP tracks that we get to see out in iRacing, I mean, just a lot of MotoGP tracks have a lot more just fluid, really keeping that momentum going. So that seems to suit these cars well from what we've gotten to see as well. Like, remember when we were in Mugello, other than a couple of those tighter corners, the guys trying to make aggressive moves, we have a great balance of straights as well as turns. So again, Gael Valero doing a great job so far, finding his way all the way almost into P1, but right now we're going to go into a full screen replay, see what happened back there. You see Marco Saavedra right now side by side with Pedro Moura. A little bit of contact going on, a little bit of squeezing to the outside by Moura. Marco Saavedra now, we'll see exactly as he tries to hold onto it, coming in just across the nose, and just like that, we've seen a spin out from Marco Saavedra. Pedro Moura being involved in that incident as well. A full 360 going into the wall for Saavedra.
Okay, so remember what we talked about yesterday, potential retaliation. That might have been just, well, you can say just desserts after what happened in that first heat. And it's not fair as well. Oh, that was very close. That was so close to actually taking out somebody there. That was Saavedra immediately after that spin, nearly causing a huge accident.
So just like that, we'll have to see is right now Pedro Moura currently sitting in 5th place. So yeah, I mean, again, that one, we know that these guys all weekend long, they've been battling it out all season long. So again, there's a bit of rivalries between some of these people. We've seen a lot back and forth. Some of the Argentina versus Brazil. Like we said, you see it out in football, you see it out in racing, we see it out in AMX, as long as some of these teammates do. Delinte, Sart, Apex. So, I mean, just tons of tons of action going on. Sometimes it goes sideways like that, but right now still Gael Valero. Well, we're talking about all that, able to get up into first place. Now Gaston Kulabi just still hanging on to the rear bumper of him. It is Audi versus Honda out here at Motegi.
Yeah, man, how Kulabi or the virtual Japanese crowd love to see a Honda win here in front of an Audi, but the unfortunate thing is that Audi driver is a real good one, so Kulabi has his work cut out to try and get back the lead.
But like we mentioned earlier, I mean, again, Gael Valero setting the fastest time out here in qualifying at Motegi, so we'll have to see if he's able to come home with the win on heat number 1, heat number 2. Amir, it might be one of those rare times that we see someone pull out the AMX Triple Crown, pull out a hat trick out here. It's been a little while, but it has happened already this season. So let's see if Gael Valero can make it happen today.
Yeah, let's see then. Though it might be in the defensive hat as opposed to being on the offensive here for Valero. Lest we forget, if he could actually just inch out a bit of a gap as he crosses the line, it's about half a second now. Keeps it that way, he is in good nick.
And just looking at the line there, so again, it's looking like on some of these corners, the Honda just, there Gaston Kulabi, a little bit better on some of the corners, but again, just trying to really losing it here on some of these straights. Like I said, it's a very well-balanced battle going out. Again, I think Gael Valero, just his expertise out in the TCR cars, knows how much he can really push it. We can see there him on comms with, I'm assuming, what is to be a fallow Apex Racing driver, kind of being his spotter out there again. Apex Racing, got to see him last week in the Petit Le Mans, Gael Valero out there, and as to no one's surprise, we got to see him out in a Ford Mustang GT3. So anytime there's a Ford, we have that running joke that Gael Valero will be in it if it is going to be an option. So great to see him out here. But again, out in TCR, definitely going for strategy overall. What is going to be the car track combination, trying to get what he will think be the fastest out of everything. So Gael Valero now, lap number 7 of 10 in the lead.
Yep, as we are going to go into yet another full screen replay. Let's see who's the one that's involved this time. It's actually Villarreal, but with Benitez. Oh! Well, because of that Saavedra spin, it caused Villarreal to go off big time. Did he avoid the barriers though? No, unfortunately he's going way too fast in there and smacks it. Where is Benitez though? Did Benitez survive that one? And I think, based on the live timing, yes he did. He walked away with that one, just about.
And gotta love the pink livery out there that Diego Villarreal is repping. Of course, I think it looked like there was the pink ribbon on top. So October is the month of breast cancer awareness. I know I've had people close to me as well, they're survivors of that. So it's great to always see people, whenever they make the special liveries out on track, repping some of these things going on. Like I said, big thing out here in the USA for a lot of our professional sports teams as well, repping those pink ribbons. Great to see it out in AMX. But right now still, I mean, Amir, we've seen these two battle it out time and time again with Valero and Kulabi, but again, out here, just seeing how things went in qualifying, I'm really leaning towards Gael Valero potentially coming home with this win in heat number 1.
Well, you want to bet against him doing the job, you know, but having said that, it's still anybody's race up in front because Kulabi's not being dropped, and Lozano, he is also watching brief in case a couple of them in front just come a cropper, and he will take an easy couple of positions to be in the lead.
Yeah, and at this point, I mean, really, a lot of these guys have kind of spread out just a little bit, over a second gap between the majority of these drivers. So I think right now there's only 2 laps left to go. Everyone out here just trying to have it a perfect lap. Again, a little bit cooler out here at Motegi than what we've seen out of Tsukuba. Tsukuba, the track was definitely warm. I believe we mentioned it was roughly around 55 degrees of the track temperature. We're out here right now, it's all about 39 degrees. So a little bit cooler, a little bit more grip. Some of these, though, higher speed corners, so that can affect their handling. Right now, still cheering on. We see the guys out there all the time showing support for seeing there cheering on Bruno De Carmo. But right now, the battle going on. Pedro Muro and Gerard Sardeni is one of the closest battles right now. Pedro Muro, again, we got to see earlier on a bit of an incident going on out there with Saavedra. Saavedra spinning around off track. So I'm sure that's going to come back in heat number 2 if those guys have a bit of a grudge match. But right now, still Gael Valero, again, always looking calm, cool, and collected whenever he gets up to the front. Still, there's a little bit of pressure from Gaston Kulavi, but both of these drivers just trying to keep it absolute inch perfect out here.
Yeah, inch perfect is the best way to describe it. It's been razor thin in terms of the margins for error that has happened throughout here these past couple races. But crucially, up in front, it has been smooth sailing for the guys after the small battle they had earlier. Now, it's time to get into gear because we're coming into the final 2 laps here. What is Kulavi going to do to take the lead?
And I'm just looking at the overall championship points. I mean, there's a lot of stuff earlier on in the season. There was a lot of back and forth. We also had Corentin Guinez in there, here in Harrison, in the mix of things. We also got to see Juan Blenat. So some of these guys that, again, they have other commitments, are just focusing on other series. It's great to always see them out here. But now, again, Gael Valero, his dominance out here in AMX is definitely going to be something that people are going to talk about forever. So it's always going to have to see, I think at this point, who's going to come in here for Season 7 and really just fight off the champ. Back-to-back championships the last couple of seasons, as well as this one looking to be potentially 3 championships as simultaneously. So right now, again, Gaston Kulavi's been putting up a pretty good fight all season long in AMX 10, but still just getting inched out slightly here and there by Gael Valero. So right now, he's going to hope that, again, depending on where Gael Valero sits at the end of this position, how close is that championship going to be? But nonetheless, if we see from these guys, they always show up week in and week out to pull it, as now Amir, the white flag is flying. If things are about to heat up, looking like a battle there for 5th place as well as a battle for the lead.
Indeed, still within the second. Lozano's like he's being dropped a bit, so it's going to be a straight fight between the Frenchman and the Argentine.
So just like that, my apologies, white flag not quite out yet. Now on the penultimate lap, I'm sorry, I was getting ahead of myself just a little bit, but still, now Gael Valero, I mean, again, I'm sure he's going to keep that consistent, but right here, I think this is the one to watch going into the final lap, as Gaston Kulavi closing the gap, Sardeni as well trying to close the gap, just stay enough in the draft to see if he can reel it in out here going into turn number 1. So now officially the white flag is out. We got Gael Valero in first place, Gaston Kulavi trying to hold it out in second, as well as the battle going on for 5th place there, Amir. This is going to be heated up as much as it can. Most of these drivers spread out, but those 2 battles going on simultaneously. Now, it is now or never once again for Gaston Kulavi. If he wants to get in that first place position, try to edge out Gael Valero in the points.
Yep, but I did mention earlier, overtake's going to be a bit of a premium because there's not that many heavy braking zones. Well, not as many as, say, Monza, where you really had to stand on the anchors. You're gonna have to find the right time and right place to do your overtake. Otherwise, if you don't make it successfully, you're gonna leave yourself vulnerable to the guy behind. So Lozano, despite being 2.7 seconds behind, and again, August Mai did point out that you need to be within at least half a second to be within that slipstream and get a chance to have a chance of a win. But looks as though Kulavi is not really taking other risky maneuvers. He's still hanging back. That's one braking spot. Now he's only got one more braking zone, and that's towards the end of the circuit here, coming in the hill at turn number 11, and that's it. His chances are going to be evaporated soon.
So here we go, like you said, last couple of turns. Gael Valero now on the long back straight going into that last couple sections under the bridge, now trying to weave a little bit, break any toe that there might be, but with over half a second, I don't think that's going to be much of an issue for him. Now Gael Valero coming onto the home straight is going to take home the win out here. Heat number 1, out up in first place. He was able to do it in qualifying, now able to get it done in heat number 1. Gaston Kulavi coming across the line in second place, as well as Mauricio Lozano, who had the early lead in this heat, now coming across in third, as well as the rest of the drivers looking like Gael Valero setting the fastest lap out there as well. So the only driver out on the field in heat number 1 to have a sub 2 minute 3 second, as well as one of the few drivers to do that in qualifying. So Gael Valero able to keep up that qualifying pace and take home the win.
It's a double already. And if you want to make it a triple, he's had the fastest lap already. So let's see then if he can have a clean sweep in the second heat.
I mean, I know he would love to do that. I mean, not, of course, everyone always loves to do that. So aside from stating the obvious, I mean, it's great to see, though, out here. I'm always wondering, because a lot of times we see Gael Valero just kind of locked in, not really much of anything. So we might have to ask him of, hey, who is he on comms with? And also, if that's one of his teammates, I mean, hopefully we get to see more of the Apex Racing guys out here. I know we got to hear from him previously about some of the other commitments they all have. But there we go, folks, your BenQ session winner, Gael Valero, making it look too easy out here in heat number 1 atop the podium. In second place, we got Gaston Kulabi. Third, Mauricio Lozano. In fourth place, Bruno De Carmo. Fifth, Pedro Mora. Sixth, Gerard Sardani. Seventh, Ralph Benitez. Eighth, Jackson Asenje. Ninth place, Evandro Dantas. 10th, Roberto Frizer. 11th, Marcos Saavedra. And rounding out in 12th place, we got Diego Villarreal.
Well, Diego Villarreal with that unfortunate accident coming in through turn 11, trying to avoid Marcos Saavedra, who was going a little bit wild, trying to recover from his incident. Now we'll start on pole position for the second heat.
And there we can see, so like we said, now that we have a little bit shorter races in the format after we came back from our break, these drivers not too worried about fuel, just being able to get out there, set down a sprint race, and now we're moments away and we are going green, folks. So Diego Villarreal, Marcos Saavedra out there on the front row. Marcos Saavedra definitely has the pace, so immediately Diego Villarreal trying to defend off Marcos Saavedra. Marcos doing a great job in qualifying, having that spin out there in heat number 1. Looking at talk about spinning, we have spin out there in the back. One of the deleting guys getting spun out, as well as we see a bit of a front bumper missing from Roberto Frizer. So out in the back, that looks like that may have been Bruno De Carmo getting involved in that one.
Oh wow, once again a Delinte car coming across. As you can see, Poco Prata's immediate reaction to that one. He is saying, oh no, not like this. It's happened again for Delinte car. He's at the back. Bruno De Carmo has also not made any good runs out of this. He's about 5 seconds already behind the rest of the field. But apart from that, Resende is the only other Delinte car that has actually made a good start here.
Then out there, like they're saying, turn 1 definitely a dangerous place. We got through it pretty clean out in heat number 1, but heat number 2, these guys, of course, coming back out on the cold tires. A lot of understeer out here in these TCR cars. Now Marcos Saavedra going for the move, and he is going to be leading pretty easily out in first place. We know he has pace out in that Hyundai Veloster. Diego Villarreal, though, however, still trying to hold on, trying to play a bit defensive, play a bit safe. He wants to hold on to that podium, but he's definitely going to have to get elbows out if he wants to keep it, as he has Evandro Dantas and Jackson Asenje right on his tail.
Yep, Saavedra, of course, we saw just now was the one with causing that major mayhem at this very point of the circuit last time out, when he was facing the wrong way and coming back onto the track. Now he's got the men who were behind him in that incident coming up. Villarreal is one of them. Resende and Dantas were not involved in that particular instance, but they were lucky to get away with that one. Now they're just seeing if they could try to get up toe-to-toe with Saavedra, but it looks as though in terms of pace, Saavedra is just slightly faster.
So here we go, and definitely grab the popcorn, because it's going to be another great one. As close as these drivers are, like I said, just minus those few incidents that kind of started spreading out, the drivers had to take avoid of accidents. But I think now we're going to be going into a full screen replay to see exactly what happened there on turn number 1. So here we go, folks. We see right there Roberto Frizer at 3 wide going into turn number 1, and right there the number 6 car, the Delinte, as well as the number 43. So Ralph Benitez, as well as the number 6 car of Bruno De Carmo, just getting caught up. And I mean, it's so unfortunate to always have that, but like we said, lap 1 is always a bit of chaos, especially in TCR. So let's see, as now one of the drivers from Delete is still doing very well in this heat. Jackson Asenje now in 3rd place, looking to get up, but he has passed Evandro Dantas, who is still in 4th place from the grid. So far the biggest mover, though, Gael Valero, up 7 positions from where he started on the grid.
Yeah, going back to the incident in the replay just now, it's once again another moment where a driver gets pitched sideways for just a split second is enough to T-bone another car out of the way. So for both the Elite guys, the Carmo and Benitez, they'll be really miffed by that one. But again, there's nothing they can do about it. That's the way the collision physics work in iRacing with these cars. Ricardo Fraser actually comes into the pits. He's already a lap behind. Meanwhile, going back to the battle at hand that we're focusing right now, Dantas under severe pressure from Valero, and the two are driving the same car, the Audi of course, onto the back straight. It's going to be even Stevens between these two guys, but who's going to break the latest? And is Valero going to try his luck? Coming into a tricky corner where braking can be very, very treacherous, but it looks as though he thinks better of it, and he's going to wait for his chance to open up. But all the while he gets stuck behind here, he's letting Saavedra get away.
As well as that, he has Gaston Kulavi right behind him. So those two drivers, Valero and Kulavi, out there battling it out in heat number 1. So far, they're trying to tell it out, try to make up as many positions as they can. And now Marcos Saavedra with almost a 2-minute, 3-second flat. So now that he has all that clean air up in front, Saavedra's really going to be trying to put the pedal down and get as far ahead as he can. Try to keep the lead away from Gael Valero. So once again, we have Saavedra out there showing how he can put down fast laps once he has clean air. But right now, still going side by side, we got Evandro Dantas, Gael Valero. Valero holding the inside line, Kulavi slotting in right behind him, and both of those drivers able to take that position away. Evandro Dantas now in 6th place.
A 2-for-1 there for Dantas in the way that he would not have wanted. He literally got just outfoxed by those two drivers that overtook him, Valero and Kulhavi. Now they can set their sights on the podium with Resende now fighting with Villarreal. So this will be interesting. If both of them were to come a cropper, this will be another couple of free positions for the both of them.
And looking back on the timing tower now, so Roberto Frizer is out of the pits, back on track, just trying to finish this race at this point, trying to get whatever points that he can, not wanting to DNF. So, like I said, got those repairs done, back out on track. But here we go, is now Diego Villarreal up in 2nd, has been doing an amazing job of holding out Jackson Asenge. So I'm not too sure. Again, I think Jackson might just be trying to save his tires a little bit, try to wait for a perfect move and not really force anything early on. Again, a lot of these Delete the Esports drivers, it seems like all season long, unfortunately, we've seen, I think Jackson Asenge and Bruno De Carmo may be two of the guys that have gotten taken out in some of these incidents the most out of their entire team.
Yeah, man, this particular round alone, we saw that many times. This is a situation where they just get caught up in an incident, not of their own making, but they're the ones who actually pay the price for it.
Getting out there, so seen someone too just saying some of the experience of some of these drivers just really, again, I think the biggest thing that we've learned all season long in TCR is, yes, you want to be aggressive and try to do that, but it seems like whenever people try to really force the issue, try to really just force a position, that's when these incidents happen, when we see other guys being patient. Now Gael Valero again already up there. We see a beautiful move from Jackson Sanjay, speaking about being patient, now up 3 positions, just waiting for that perfect opportunity over Diego Villarreal. Villarreal went a little bit wide, leaving the door wide open for Sanjay to come in, but now Gael Valero as well over Diego Villarreal. So here we see again going wide, not sure exactly what happened, and that's 2 turns in a row that Villarreal just left the door wide open and is now backing down into 5th place.
Yeah, that mistake coming through 2 and 3, or rather 3 and 4, was enough to just get him out of the way for Valero and Kulhavi, which is good on their part, but for him, detrimentally, he's lost 3 positions in the space of just a couple of sectors.
So here we see now Gael Valero back up into podium contention, Gaston Kulhavi right behind him, and a little bit of a gap. Marcos Saavedra has definitely gained almost 3 seconds now. It has been about 3 seconds over Jackson Sanjay. So these guys now for P2, they all want that spot. They all want to be on the podium, but they might have to start working together just a little bit. Again, that's kind of going to be hard to say, as we've seen the rivalry between Jackson Sanjay and Gael Valero in previous seasons. These two guys always going back and forth no matter what car. This, like we said, for TCR, at least today, it's been a lot between Saavedra, Gael Valero, and Kulhavi, but now Jackson Sanjay trying to get in the mix of things. Both of these guys have the pace to try and really fight for the win, but again, just seeing where Saavedra was in qualifying, as well as Jackson Sanjay, it's going to be really close between all three drivers, but right now, almost halfway through this thing, will they be able to make up 3 seconds? They're going to have to be absolutely perfect from all of them, not really trying to defend off too much. So again, Jackson Senji may have the best chance, but again, Gael Valero looking to make it top spot in qualifying as well as heats 1 and 2.
Yep, he's going for a treble, or as we call it here, the triple crown, but also a clean sweep because he was fastest in the qualifying session. He had the fastest lap in that first heat and the race win. Now he wants to go for it again. For the time being though, in terms of fastest laps, he is not the holder of that. He is Marco Saavedra, because Saavedra has had clear air up in front, whereas Valero has had to fight tooth and nail to get up to where he is at this point. It's halfway through now. He will be hoping that he has enough tire life in it to try and get that fastest lap, on top of chasing after Saavedra to get that win. But just like the bridge that crosses over, well, couple bridges that crosses over the circuit, it may be too far for him to try and get at least a win out of this.
And so now again, out in lap number 5, so officially about halfway through this race. The lead is Marco Saavedra, leading by about 3.3 seconds over Jackson Senji in second place. Third place, Gael Valero trying to hold on to that gap. Again, both of these drivers of Senji and Gael Valero in the same car, both outrunning the Audis, while we see there in the distance the Dora the Explorer Veloster leading the way, as well as Kulavi in a Honda right behind them. So a good mix of manufacturers out towards the front of the pack out here. Again, I mean, similar but yet still a little bit different of what we got to see out in heat number 1. Of course, Marco Saavedra having that big spin, sent him all the way down towards the back of the pack. He was up on the front row and has been taking advantage of that ever since. Now just inching out that lead, a 10th here, a 10th there, and we'll have to see. Like we said, Gael Valero has the pace, but Marco Saavedra still the only driver so far to set a sub 2 minute 3 second out here in heat number 2.
Yeah, Saavedra, because of that clean air, has been the beneficiary of that one, something like Valero had. Whereas here, yeah, it's what Drift God said, Valero is scary. He's metronomically scary, how he can just bang in lap after lap and just be on someone's rearview mirrors to overtake. I personally don't want to be the one to look over when I'm racing with him. I would just probably try to look forward, but inevitably he will find a way, and he did so against Saavedra previously at Tsukuba. He might want to try doing it again in this second race.
So like I said, these guys definitely battling it out. I know Gael Valero, definitely a smart racer out here. He knows that he is well in the lead in the championship, so he doesn't really have to push too hard. I mean, just being on the podium is really going to be enough to kind of, show how consistent he is to get the championship once again. So this is going to be kind of the penultimate stop before we head over to Germany. Once again, we will be out there in a couple of weeks for the finale of our TCR World Tour out at the Sachsenring, as well as the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecke layout. So I know a lot of people would probably have loved to see if we hit the Nürburgring out in the Nordschleife for a grand finale. I mean, that would have been something else, but not quite what we'd see in TCR fashion. I know definitely during the Nürburgring 24-hour race, as well as some of the Nürburgring endurance races, we get to see these TCR cars out there, but it's not going to be right now. So the one more stop before this guy is potentially taking home that championship, but nonetheless, we still have AMX 15 coming up next weekend, where we're going to be out in the LMP2 cars, so that's going to be a great one. Definitely going to know things might be shaking it up as we're heading back to Spa.
Oh yes, that is an iconic circuit. If you ever to describe one circuit that's on everybody's minds, Spa always comes on the top of that list. But that's next week. In the present and in the now, it looks as though Resende has gotten Valero for company and Kulhavi watching Prix for good measure.
And another thing to keep in mind, so we do got next weekend coming up as well. So anyone that wants to join, you can feel free to head over to amxrace.com. Get signed up over there. We got AMX 0 going on next weekend, where we're going to be switching it up a little bit. We're going to be in the Pro 2 light trucks out at Wild West Motorsports Park, as well as having another NASCAR oval race thrown in the mix for AMX 5. So two very American sports, very American tracks out here next weekend, Saturday. That's going to be an absolute fun one. Last time we got to see that, we were doing some dirt oval racing as well as an IndyCar oval race out of Daytona. So a little bit chaotic, but still great entertainment all the way around.
Definitely, and Daytona and IndyCars, we haven't heard that kind of combination in over half a century. And the last time they did do it, it was tragic, but luckily, this is something that we are not going to have to face in the virtual world. We can go full pelt with so many IndyCars on the track at IndyCar on the high banks and not having to worry about the consequences.
And right now, still, Valero doing an excellent job. So he's just being patient again, once again, holding on to the rear bumper of Jackson Assange. Now, looking like he's going to make the move. Looking, he's peeking to the inside, going for the inside move. Will he have it? Jackson Assange trying to hold it on to the outside now. It's going to be a drag race side by side. Gael Valero, Jackson Assange. But we'll have to see as Valero may have the benefit going into this next turn. Assange now still slightly in front, but going to have to be on that outside line. So this is where we've seen a bit of danger happening. Both of these veteran drivers out now. No, Jackson Assange will be slotting right back into third place, trying not to give up that position to Gaston Kulavi either.
Definitely, and we know that he is quite a dogged fighter, but it looks as though he doesn't have the car underneath him at this point, and he might be losing the battle here between himself and Kulavi because he's on the inside. Kulavi, the Argentine, side by side with the Brazilian Resende. It looks as though Resende might hang it out here. That drive out of the final corner, out of champion corner, was not enough to maintain position, but he still hangs around the outside, gets a good run, and he's looking at his mirrors virtually side by side with Kulavi, gets it back. Brilliant piece of driving from the Brazilian to defend his third place, but all the while then might lose contact to Valero.
Yeah, so out here, I mean, yeah, great driving, absolutely. Kulavi all day long. I mean, really, these four drivers up towards the front of the pack, kind of the ones to watch since we came in from qualifying. Heat number one, heat number two, and oh, a little bit of a bump right there from the number 27 of Kulavi. Just a little bit of a friendly bump saying, all right, Jackson, I'm right behind you, and I'm going to look to overtake. So I don't know if that's a bit of a warning for what's to come in the final couple of laps, but Jackson Assange definitely going to have to be driving in his mirrors just a little bit if he wants to hold on to that podium. We know now Gael Valero trying to get back up as well. Another battle going on between Diego Villarreal and Evandro Dantas. So Villarreal was doing pretty good early on in this heat and then started making a couple of mistakes that sent him down in the running order, but now looking to try to get back up to 5th place over Evandro Dantas. Evandro Dantas as well, doing a great job defending. Lozano trying to get into the mix of things there in P7. So two great battles going on right now. P5, I mean, again, we haven't seen this in quite a while, but it's been all day long. We've had the battles pretty much for P5 and P6, as well as the battles going on for the lead.
Ooh, very close then between these two now. And where is Villarreal going to go here? He is not going to go narrow. He is trying to actually stay onto the racing line, and that's the way to go, because if you go narrow defending in a touring car, as I mentioned before, you will run the risk of locking up and going off. As somebody in the chat pointed out that he does have Adidas gloves. Yes, that's actually quite an interesting thing. It's not a pair of football gloves, it's a proper pair of racing gloves, and yes, Adidas have made those. Case in point, I think Ryan Hunter-Reay used to drive them when he was in IndyCar.
So it's always great to see. I mean, I think we've seen a couple different setups from some of these guys over the years, over the different seasons. But out here, yeah, now still Diego Villarreal doing a great job. Again, Mauricio Lozano right behind him. He's still trying to catch up right to Evandro Dantas. So again, right now, lap number 9 of 10 out in heat number 2. We got the penultimate lap battles going on. We'll see if Evandro Dantas able to hold on to this P5, or Villarreal or Lozano going to take from him. Ralph Benitez right there in the background as well. So, you know, all of these guys just trying to get as much as they can up in the points, like we mentioned earlier on 2018 and so forth down, as we see a move to the inside right there over, whoa, right there between Lozano, Ralph Benitez trying to hold that inside line. So great gearbox cam from the back of Villarreal's car. And there we see Ralph Benitez just able to make the move happen. Still a bit of side-by-side action between those two drivers, but who's going to get it now? The inside line will still be Lozano. Ralph Benitez now the switch back into the right-hander. Again, Amir, these are the races that we love to see, the battles going on. Oh, a little bit of touching. Things are getting dicey now.
Oh, and speaking of getting dicey, I'm watching the F1 as well for good measure. It's getting dicey over there. The racing is actually mirrored what we're seeing right now with Lozano and Benitez nearly coming across with the way that Max and Lando are doing it as well, IRL. So it's art and the real life stuff almost combining to actually be mirror images of each other. But for the time being though, luckily those two guys are still going onto the track and facing forwards.
And here we go, folks. So as these drivers are now starting to round out lap number 9, the white flag will be coming out for Saavedra and Valero. Still almost a 5-second gap. So Marco Saavedra able to show what he was doing in qualifying, able to put it back out here. Gael Valero having to battle his way all the way up from the back of the pack. Now into P number 2, Jackson Senji right there in 3rd place, but still this is the battle ensuing that we've been talking about the last few laps. Ralph Benitez leading the pack, Mauricio Lozano, Diego Villarreal, all of these guys, Ivandro Dantas just trying to hold on to it. Again, these guys are not battling for podium, these guys are just battling for pride right now, and it's still great going on. We have Dantas trying to break the toe from Villarreal, everyone else in a train right behind him.
Well, apologies to August Mai, yes, getting a bit carried away watching the real race as well. But either way, the racing we have right now for this couple of positions, just for P5, but it is heating up. And one of them involved right in the thick of it is Ralph Benitez behind Villarreal. He might want to fancy a 2-for-1 here if he can make one of those guys go narrow, whereas Lozano, who's faded a bit to P8, might just fancy his chances if any of the 3 guys in front of him whack each other out in the last couple of corners in a big fast action.
And so here we go, folks. Still now lap number 10 of 10. Who is going to be coming across? It's looking like Marco Saavedra still doing a great job. He may be coming home with the win out here, but still it's so crazy to see what is going on out in the middle of the pack. I mean, one thing we know, no matter what the race in TCR, there's always a chance for drama to go on. But right now, still, it is Ralph Benitez seeing if he can get the undercut right now, just into the back bumper of Villarreal a little bit, trying to just force a move again. What these guys can do, it's a vast contrast from what's going on out at the front. Marco Saavedra having no pressure at all to all of the pressure being right here in the middle of the pack. And here we see a move done. Mauricio Lozano trying to slide out, trying to get, again, force the errors on the drivers in front of you, all showing how well they have done out here today. And that has been some of these guys that were at the front of the pack now dropping back as Marco Saavedra crossing the line in first, Gael Valero in second, Jackson Sanjay in third, with the battle ensuing still in the middle of the pack. These guys coming across now, Gaston Kulavi 4th place, and Evandro Danta still able to hold on to that 5th place after an intense battle the last several laps. Amir, another great heat, another great one. Gael Valero not quite able to get 3 in a row, get the AMX Triple Crown, but he's still going to inch out his points lead that much more.
Indeed, and that's all he really wants, isn't it? His main championship rival right behind him. He really doesn't have to worry about winning. If he's not winning this race, he can still take one more step towards defending his championship.
And there we go, as the last couple of drivers now, Bruno De Carmo coming across the line, Roberto Frizer retiring from heat number 2. So there's been a few incidents. Again, I think that usually has been the make or break point for most of these drivers. You see Bruno De Carmo getting in there, Marco Saavedra in heat number 1, as well as a couple of the other guys that, you know, again, every single week in, week out, no matter what the car class is, I think those rivalries kind of flow over, whether it's AMX 0, AMX 5, out here in the TCRs and AMX 10, but nonetheless out for heat number 2, your BenQ session winner as well, setting the fastest lap, Marco Saavedra coming home with the win. Gael Valero in 2nd place, Jackson Sanjay in 3rd. 4th place, we got Gaston Kulavi. 5th, Evandro Dantas. 6th, Diego Villarreal. 7th, Ralph Benitez. 8th place, Mauricio Lozano. 9th, Pedro Moura. 10th, Gerard Sardani. 11th, Bruno De Carmo. And Roberto Frizer rounding it out in 12th place.
Amazing stuff. Even though it was a bit of a slow burner towards the end in terms of a fight for the lead, but the battles all around the field was the one that really made the race.
Absolutely. And so, like I said, we don't have to see exactly where those drivers come in. It was Marco Saavedra coming away the overall winner from Tsukuba. And now it's a bit closer. Gael Valero doing a great job. We got to see there, however, Marco Saavedra in heat number 1. just getting into a bit of an incident, sending him almost all the way to the back of the pack. So although he did get that win there in heat number 2, we'll have to wait and see if it is enough to put him on the podium for the overall win out here at Motegi. But Amir, like we said, we give a bit of a preview for what's to come next week. Now it's all going to come down here in a couple weeks for TCR, for Germany, Sachsenring and Nürburgring, the Grand Prix layout. I think this is going to be one of those things. However, Gaia Valero may very well have this one in the bag, but we're going to have to see as the battle still goes on. There's still P2 and P3 to be held onto.
Definitely. It's just a matter of playing for keeps afterwards, isn't it? Because it's a bit of a formality in the championship. But regardless, we might still get some good racing all the way, because the Sachsenring, it might be a small, tight circuit for cars. You normally see bikes there in MotoGP, but it is still going to be some frenetic action that we just saw here today, like Tsukuba, for example. The Nürburgring, different matter altogether, but it's still going to be a good track to race on regardless.
And as we have the results coming in, so it does look like we will have out there in your top 10 for the second race of the day, we got Gael Valero, of course, able to inch away his points that much more. A little bit of a graphical issue there, but still Gael Valero doing a great job all day long. And once again, the consistency just showing why he is able to be out here. So again, so like I said, a little bit of a graphical error going on as we get the results back up here. But what we seen earlier on, because we did kind of go on in between the break between Tsukuba and Motegi. From Tsukuba, it was Marco Saavedra up top, Gael Valero in second, and Pedro Dean in third. Unfortunately, Pedro Dean did have to leave. He wasn't able to get out here for Motegi. So, I mean, definitely, what would you say, Amir, is probably the biggest contrast between Tsukuba and Motegi out here?
The biggest difference about it is the length of the circuit. Again, small frenetic circuit like Tsukuba, frenetic action. You get every single corner, at least something will happen. Motegi, not so much. It's a big circuit, and you can have the action being a bit sparse, so that's why it wasn't as crazy as what we saw in Motegi. But regardless, the action was still close, and that's what we love to see.
And there we see, so your winner, of course, Gael Valero up there with 53 points. Marco Saavedra coming in second with 34 points, and Gaston Kulavi in that third place position, 22. So Gael Valero able to just inch ahead ever so much more in the standings. Like we said, if he got about 124 points in the lead, then he wouldn't really have to show up next week, and he would already have the championship secured. But we know Gael Valero, he's going to show up to every race if he can, as long as he doesn't have something else. So I know he's going to be here. It would be great to see him out for the finale, not only come our way, but he was so close in today's race, getting that AMX Triple Crown, fastest in qualifying, won Heat 1. Unfortunately, just did not quite have it to get out into Heat number 2, a win, but still nonetheless a podium for him. Amir, I mean, all of these drivers putting it in, week out. It's so sad that we only have one more day of AMX10 coming up. But like we mentioned, everyone out there, next weekend on Saturday, AMX 0 heading over to Wild West Motorsports Park in the Pro 2 light truck. So if you are a fan of off-road racing, I highly suggest you get involved in that one. AMX 0 open to anyone, and that's one of those, again, most likely I think I'll be up here in the booth commentating on that, but if I am not, you can guarantee I will be out there in those trucks. One of my favorite races going on, as well as the NASCAR for AMX 5. So last time we had an oval race, we got to see last season, it was pretty much Team Redline versus everyone else in AMX. We'll have to see what happens next week. But Amir, what was your biggest takeaway from today's races?
TCRs are just fun. That's plain and simple. Even if the race leader's running away, you can still have battles all the way through. And if it's a small compact circuit like what happened in Tsukuba, we had a brilliant battle all the way to the end, and Valero got a better Saavedra. That one is probably a highlight of the day.
Absolutely, but that'll be rounding it out for us out here at AMX. Again, everyone out there, make sure to head over to amxrace.com, as well as follow all of our social medias, be getting updates on what's going on, get the full schedule, as well as if you want to kind of get up on the rules, the regulations, things that change, as well as stay informed up to date on our Discord. We got it all out there. Follow us on Twitch and YouTube, and make sure to come back next weekend for another great weekend of AMX racing. Signing out for AMX, I'm Kevin alongside Amir. We'll see you next time.
When I saw